Celestial Immortal Clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 501 ranked 6th. As soon as Xianku's Henjin finished speaking, the ancestors of more than a dozen sects appeared in the middle of the valley. Seeing so many ancestors appear, the scene became quiet for a while, and no one dared to make too much noise. In fact, at this time, the ancestors of each family already had a general idea of the victory or defeat in their hearts. However, because of the great Xian'an reincarnation technique, Kanchi's Henjin of Yangshi sect was the most anxious. So he was the first to speak. Since everyone is humble to each other, let me start with a brick to track jade. There are 210 disciples in Yangshi sect who have completed the cultivation, 45 people who have completed the second level of cultivation, and the rest are people who have been promoted to the third level, so the total score should be 1,170 points. As soon as Kanchi finished speaking, Honglian Temple Yanming Venerable continued, there are 202 disciples in Honglian Temple who have completed the cultivation. There are 42 people who have completed the second level of cultivation, and the rest are people who have been promoted to the third level, so the total score is 1,128 points. There are 195 disciples in Xianqing Sword sect who have completed the cultivation, with a total score of 1,080 points. There are 186 disciples who have completed the training in Qingyuan sect, with a total score of 1,036 points. There are 232 disciples who have completed the training in Yuga sect, with a total score of 1,390 points. It didn't take long for all the ancestors to report the scores they deserved. According to the agreement of each sect at the beginning, the Yuga sect, which ranked first last time, was used as the standard to give points to each sect. However, after giving points according to the difference in the scores last time, the ranking did not change much. In the end, Yuga sect ranked first, Yangshi sect ranked second, and Qingyuan sect ranked sixth. It just so happened that Liang's Henjin didn't get anything. He also gave a high-level treasure. It is worth mentioning that Xianku's Henjin, who ranked first, picked 5 treasures at the first time. Among them were the stone fetus that was born and raised, and the relics of the venerable of Honglian Temple. Zhenjin Kanchi almost couldn't control his expression. After hurriedly selecting the treasure, he contacted Xianku at the first time. He wanted to exchange the stone fetus for his own. As for the result of the negotiation between the two people, it is not known for the time being. After the ancestors of each sect distributed the bets according to the ranking, this Jiazi trial was over. When the Qingyuan sect's Liang's Henjin came back, his face was black. He was ranked 6th in this trial. If 1 or 2 more disciples could come out, maybe the 5th place would be his, and at least he could tie and get a result of neither losing nor winning. Now it's just a little short, and it's really too depressing for him, so he didn't have a good face when he came back. At this time, including the 5 Jindan's Henren, no one dared to speak. In the end, it was the Liang ancestor who said, "That's it, let's go back." After that, he disappeared immediately. A Jindan's Henren waved his hand, and the white J treasure ship that sent them here appeared in front of everyone again. Afterwards, without any instructions, the disciples present began to board the ship consciously. There were hundreds of people when they came. And when they went back, there were only more than 180 people left. So there were plenty of rooms, so Lin Changqing and the others chose the 2 rooms from last time. After a while, they felt the treasure ship begin to rise and accelerate. At this time, the 2 were in Chen Ziya's room, chatting and drinking green jade tea. At this time, Chen Ziya finally couldn't help her curiosity and asked, "Brother Qing, what is your final ranking and what opportunities did you get?" Lin Changqing happily hugged her in his arms, kissed her hard several times, and then said proudly, "Of course I am ranked first. And with the help of your virtuous wife, if I don't get the first place, it would be too sorry for your efforts. As for the opportunity, I finally got a magical seed called the Great 5 Elements Giksa technique, which is a kind of killing magical power. The function is to decompose and annihilate any substance with the 5 elements. It is the most suitable magical power for me." Hearing Lin Changqing praising her like this, Chen Ziya blushed. After glaring at him, she said shyly, "It seems that I didn't help much? It's not as good as you said. However, Brother Qing thinks that the most suitable for you must be a very good opportunity." After having it, I hope you can practice to a higher level in the future." Hearing Chen Ziya say this, he sighed in his heart. Lin Changqing knew that she had been worried about his qualifications. Worried that he would not be able to keep up with her one day. The problem was that Lin Changqing had no way to tell her that he had an inner space and Lin Changliu's help. So he could only practice harder in the future so that she could see his continuous progress. Only then would she be relieved by seeing it with her own eyes. Not wanting to dwell on this issue, he changed the subject and said, "It's just right that we have nothing to do now, so let's sort out the things we have harvested. Otherwise, it would be very troublesome to carry hundreds of storage bags with us all the time. And there should be some things in it that we need, so we can take this opportunity to sort them out." Chen Ziya also felt that carrying so many storage bags was a bit too ostentatious, and it was really not appropriate. She was thinking about finding time to sort them out. Lin Changqing's proposal was exactly what she wanted, so after the two of them finished a pot of spiritual tea, they began to sort them out. Because there were so many things, it took the two of them almost a day to sort them out. The first thing was the spirit stones. There were not many low-grade spirit stones, only about 50,000 pieces, but there were 85,000 medium-grade ones. The next thing was the elixir. There were too many of them. A total of more than 3,000 bottles were cleared out, including elixirs needed for each stage of the foundation building period. If these elixirs were really used for cultivation, at least 3 to 5 cultivators could be guaranteed to cultivate to the great perfection of the foundation building period. Excluding various common elixirs, there were still 20 to 30 kinds that neither of them knew. They could only put them away separately and look up information on them later or ask Zhao Mingxia for advice. The next thing was various offensive and defensive spiritual tools. There were also various stages, mostly second-level, middle and upper-grade ones. A total of about 640 pieces were cleared out, all kinds of them. The two of them each picked out 20 pieces that they liked more and used them as spare spiritual tools. The rest were gathered in a storage bag, ready to meet Hu Yano when the time came and give them to her for help. The rest were nearly 5,000 jade boxes of different sizes. They spent 2 or 3 hours opening these jade boxes. Chapter 502, Strength Surges Again. Although most of them were empty, they did find quite a few things. The most were various spiritual medicines, about 800 of them. A small part was refining materials, mostly second level, and a small number of third-level ones, and there were also 70 or 80 jade slips. Many of these jade slips were introductions to the trial secret realm, and some notes on the experience of some monks and their practice, and there was nothing too precious. Lin Changqing took the opportunity to mix the refining method of the Imperial Soul Shield into it. This was because it was difficult to refine such a treasure with their own abilities now. And Chen Ziya's soul defense ability was very poor. It could be said that it was basically non-existent, so he wanted to take this opportunity. Ask the great-grandmother to come forward and refine a few soul shields, so that everyone can use it, and it can also reduce a shortcoming. When Chen Ziya saw the jade slip for refining the Imperial Soul Shield, she was also very happy and excited, and shared the things with Lin Changqing as soon as possible. But she didn't know that this thing was actually shared with her by Lin Changqing. However, when she carefully read the specific materials needed for refining, she realized that this was not a simple matter. Because the main soul material inside is quite precious and rare even for giant and cultivators, and it is not so easy to get. At least with their foundation building level, it is quite difficult to get these things. So after the two of them discussed, they decided to find an opportunity to hand over the refining method to the great-grandmother. I believe that if it can be refined at that time, the two will naturally have their own share. Although Lin Changqing already has a soul shield, who would dislike such a treasure? Even if I don't use it at that time, it's good to give it to my family. The remaining things are a bunch of messy sundries and clothes, which actually filled 3 storage bags. These useless things will be disposed of at that time. In the end, more than 130 identity jade cards were collected. This is the meat on the comb, which is extra, but after the two of them discussed, they decided not to exchange them all. Probably only 80 or 90 pieces would be exchanged at most, because neither of them wanted to attract the attention of the Qingyuan sect's high-level officials. They were worried that Chen Ziya's departure from the Qingyuan sect would cause unnecessary trouble, so they decided to keep a low profile. In this way, the harvest this time was completely counted, and the two of them had a rough idea of the resources they had obtained. Most of the medium-grade spirit stones, about half of the elixirs, and all the spirit medicines were in Lin Changqing's hands. The remaining half of the elixirs, more than 600 spirit tools, and some miscellaneous things were in Chen Ziya's hands. When Hu Yun'er helped to deal with them, the resources she obtained would also be handed over to Chen Ziya for processing. After all, by that time, Lin Changqing must have been traveling outside and had no time to take care of these things. Because it took about half a month to fly here last time, it was estimated that it would take about the same amount of time to return this time. On the second day on the treasure ship, apart from normal cultivation, there was nothing else he could do on the ship, but he didn't want to waste his time. So after discussing with Chen Ziya, he decided to take out the remaining 2 Thunderbird eggs and continue to refine them, turning these precious resources into his own strength. But this time he was not so anxious, and divided the 2 Thunderbird eggs into 12 days to absorb and refine. Because he was not in a hurry this time, it would not be as painful as last time, and he successfully opened up 56 Thunder Acupoints for himself. In addition to the 42 that had been successfully opened before, he now has a total of 98 Thunder Acupoints. And at this time, the cultivation of the body has increased again, equivalent to the cultivation of the second stage of the body. Although his body has not increased in height or become stronger, he feels that his strength should be at least 50,000 pounds. It's just that he is still on the treasure ship returning to the Jian mountain station, so it is not convenient to test it. However, because of the sudden surge in strength, he did not continue to practice in the last 2 or 3 days, but used it to adapt to the body with a surge in strength. In the last few days, Lin Changqing has accidentally crushed 3 or 4 teacups. Chen Ziya's favorite tea set is now finished. Okay, after a few days of adaptation, he can finally basically control the strength of his body. He only needs to practice for a period of time, and he will definitely be able to achieve perfect control. Today is the 15th day of the return journey, and they will be able to return to the base soon. The two of them snuggle together to drink tea again, but this time they use Lin Changqing's tea set. At this time, a majestic but clear voice spread throughout the treasure ship. All the disciples who participated in the trial, listen carefully. The rewards promised to you this time can be collected at the General Affairs Hall in 3 days. Those who use the jade cards of other sects to redeem treasures can go to the treasure pavilion of the sect to redeem them within 10 days. No more waiting after the expiration date. I hope all the disciples will know this. All the disciples who completed the trial this time have also gained some opportunities. But you have all seen the price you paid with your own eyes. The immortal road is difficult, and the road is a struggle. So I hope that everyone this time will properly grasp this opportunity and strive to go further on the immortal road. And in the future, they can become the mainstay of the sect and contribute their own strength to the inheritance and continuation of the sect. That's it. After the soul-shaking voice disappeared, Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya couldn't help but look at each other. Knowing that it was the sect's Liang patriarch who was speaking to all of them, and summarizing the follow-up arrangements and the trial. It also made them feel once again up close how powerful Yuan Ying's engine was. Just an ordinary voice transmission shocked everyone. The two spent a little time digesting the information they had just received. At this time, the treasure ship just returned to the Sect Square in Jian Mountain. After the two got off the treasure ship, they heard the voice of the great-grandmother again. Let them rest for a day and meet at the top tomorrow morning. After the two agreed, they returned to their residence together with the only surviving female cultivator of the Changshi Peak lineage. The surviving sister, named Li Xiangzhu, has now reached the late stage of foundation building after getting the opportunity. But at this time, she was not happy at all, because her two very good and familiar brothers were trapped in the trial secret realm. Chapter 503 Sharing Warning. Now she was alone, and she probably didn't know how to talk to her master and fellow disciples when she returned. So she was in a bad mood on the way back. Chen Ziya had been trying to talk to her, hoping to enlighten her, but the effect was not obvious, and she had no choice but to give up. After the two returned to their residence, they did not rest, because in fact, they had almost heard the news on the treasure ship. Now they had to hurry up and transplant the purple bamboo bushes and several second-level spiritual peach trees in the spiritual plant bag. The two began to dig nearly 100 deep pits around Chen Ziya's residence, according to the locations she marked. In each pit, 200 or 300 low-grade spiritual stones were specially placed, and then the purple bamboo bushes were planted in, so that they would definitely grow better in the future. This method of cultivation is not something that every spiritual plant master is willing to use. Only people like Lin Changqing, who are relatively wealthy, would be willing to do this. After a while, after confirming that all these spiritual plants have survived, Chen Ziya will use these purple bamboo bushes to arrange them into formations, and release the shocking cicada in her hand in this area. As for the other 3 second-level spiritual peach trees, the same method is used, except that more spiritual stones are put into each of the pits where they are planted, about 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Moreover, they are planted directly in Chen Ziya's yard, so that the spiritual peach trees can be seen blooming and bearing fruit in the future, which is another kind of scenery. The two of them were busy for several hours, and it was almost noon that they finally got everything done. Just when they wanted to sit down and rest for a while, Huyana and Zhao Mingxia came to visit together. As soon as the two knew that the cultivators who participated in the Jiazi trial had returned, they immediately made an appointment and rushed here. Along the way, the two were very uneasy, until they saw Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya, both safe and sound. They finally put their minds at ease. And seeing that the cultivation of Lin Changqing and the others had greatly improved, they were naturally happy and envious. The four people got together again and felt much warmer towards each other. They sat down in the pavilion in the yard, and Chen Ziya took out spiritual fruits and spiritual tea to entertain them. After everyone drank a few cups of Qingyu tea, Huyana asked, "Brother Gao, did you have a smooth Jiazi trial this time? Share your experience with us." Lin Changqing nodded, and after organizing his words, he said, "For the two of us, it should be relatively smooth. It didn't take much time to get together, and the two of us supported each other and successfully passed the Jiazi trial. But for others, it's not necessarily the case. When Qingyin sect went there, there were about 800 people, but only more than 180 people were able to come back. Even half of the Purple Mansion monks were killed in it. If you count carefully, more than 70% of the people died in it. It can be said to be extremely cruel and tragic. The whole process is actually very simple. It is to hunt monsters, and in the end the monks fight each other for the monster pills in their hands. There is nothing special about it. Anyway, the whole process gives me the feeling that it is a naked law of the jungle. And there is no luck at all. If you don't have any powerful means in the future, you must not participate in this kind of trial." After hearing what Lin Changqing said, Huyana and Zhao Mingxia truly felt the cruelty of this trial and felt lucky that they did not participate in the trial. Zhao Mingxia noticed the surrounding purple bamboo forest and several second-level spiritual peach trees. She remembered that she had not seen these spiritual plants when she came last time. So she couldn't help asking, "Sister Chen, are these spiritual plants around you what you harvested this time?" Chen Ziya heard this and nodded with a smile and said, "Yes, these are all dug out by Brother Qing. And we also found a very powerful spiritual insect in it. It took a lot of effort to subdue them. I'll take one out for you to see." After that, she took out a first-level shocking cicada from her spiritual beast bag. Because this shocking cicada has recognized its master and the master has also given instructions, it did not chirp non-stop as before. Instead, it was very quiet. It was held in Chen Ziya's hand and then handed over to Zhao Mingxia and the others. The two of them took it in their hands and looked at it. They were very curious about why Chen Ziya said that this little thing was very powerful. So Zhao Mingxia continued to ask, "Senior Sister Chen, what is so powerful about it? Let us see it." Huyana also nodded. She had the same idea. After seeing the power of the purple crystal scorpion, she knew that ordinary spiritual insects would definitely not be taken seriously by Lin Changqing. So she was also very curious about this kind of spiritual cicada and wanted to see what was different about it. So Chen Ziya smiled mysteriously at them, and then said, "It will attack the soul, you have to be careful, remember to keep your spiritual platform tight." After that, the first-level shocking cicada chirped twice, and Huyana and the other two were mentally empty, and their bodies shook twice, and then they reacted all at once. This time the two people were really very surprised. Just a first-level spiritual cicada could make both of them fall. What if it was a second-level one? It would be terrible. Are the two of them no longer able to fight back? Huyana couldn't help but ask, "Senior Brother Gao, what are their names? They are so powerful. How did you subdue them at that time?" Zhao Mingxia also said, "I've learned a lot. This little guy is really powerful. If there are second-level spirit insects, then relying on them, can you be almost invincible in the trial secret realm?" Hearing Zhao Mingxia's question, Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. In fact, exposing the shocking cicada to Huyana and Zhao Mingxia was the result of Lin Changqing's discussion. Of course, there was also a little bit of helplessness. After all, they would definitely come to visit often in the future. In that case, they would always know, so it would be better to tell them directly, so that they don't have to guess. And last time, the two of them were afraid that they were not well prepared, so they specially gave Lin Changqing and the others very precious gifts. Therefore, after Lin Changqing and Chen Ziya discussed, they were also ready to repay them, so Chen Ziya would directly lead the topic to the shocking cicada. Chapter 504, Reciprocity. Lin Changqing was also very satisfied with the current effect, and explained to them, this kind of spiritual cicada is called the shocking soul cicada. The innate spell is the shocking soul spell. You have just experienced the effect yourself. It is a spell that specifically attacks the soul. These little guys did provide us with a lot of help in the secret realm, and they are indeed very powerful. However, it is impossible to say that we can be invincible in the trial secret realm by relying on them. Because they themselves also have very obvious weaknesses, that is, their body defense is relatively weak. As long as they are hit by spiritual weapons, they will probably die. Therefore, when you use them in the future, you must pay special attention to this problem. Don't cultivate them with great difficulty, and if you are not careful, they will die all of a sudden. Hearing Lin Changqing say this, they were all very surprised. Huyana and Zhao Mingxia are both very smart people. Knowing what Lin Changqing meant, he wanted to give them some of these spiritual cicadas, which made them feel very surprised, but also a little flattered. Finally, it was Huyana who asked, from what scene your brother Gao said, you want to give us some of these spiritual insects? Zhao Mingxia was also looking at them expectantly at this time. After seeing how powerful the little guy was, she actually wanted this kind of spiritual insect very much, even if it was just a few, but she was a little embarrassed to ask. Lin Changqing smiled and nodded and said, yes, both junior sisters have understood correctly, that's what we mean. The gifts that the two junior sisters gave us last time were all very precious, but this trial went smoothly. Therefore, we didn't use them, so we thought about returning them to the two junior sisters when we came back. But I guess you may not take them back, so after discussing with Yair, we decided to give you some shocking cicadas. It can also be regarded as adding some means of protection for the two of you. I wonder if the two junior sisters agree with our arrangement. After hearing Lin Changqing's explanation, Huyana and Zhao Mingxia understood what Lin Changqing meant. The knot can be understood as giving gifts to each other, or the meaning of reciprocity. So after the two looked at each other, they both readily agreed, which made the atmosphere even more lively. The four people began to discuss everything about the god-shocking cicada very enthusiastically. Both parties agreed to meet here again after 12 days. At that time, Lin Changqing would assist them in contracting the spiritual insects. They had already agreed with them that each of them would be given 12 first-level god-shocking cicadas to cultivate themselves. Including living habits and issues that need to be paid attention to in feeding, several people have already discussed it just now. Huyana and Zhao Mingxia both remembered it firmly in their hearts. Now they are just waiting for the time to come here to contract again. After confirming this issue, Chen Ziya handed over all the more than 600 spiritual tools that she had harvested in the secret realm this time to Huyana. She asked her to help deal with them and exchange them all for spiritual stones, and then hand them over to Chen Ziya. As for Zhao Mingxia, she helped identify 5 kinds of elixirs. She didn't know the rest, so she had to go back to check the information. When the result is obtained, I will tell Lin Changqing and the others. Among the 5 kinds of elixirs, there is a bone refining and marrow washing elixir, which is used by body cultivators for body refining. There are 2.5 bottles in total. Lin Changqing can also use this elixir himself, but it is only incidental to his body refining, so he thinks it is nothing to forget. There are also 2 other corresponding elixirs, the blood-burning elixir and the blood-generating elixir. Among them, the blood-burning elixir is used to burn the essence in blood at the critical moment. And the blood-generating elixir is used to nourish the body and promote blood growth after desperately. In addition, 2 kinds of elixirs belonging to the category of poisons have been confirmed. They are very poisonous and cannot be taken orally. These elixirs identified by Zhao Mingxia have some effects. He will go out to travel recently, thinking that he may use them. So all these elixirs were collected by him. Huyana and Zhao Mingxia stayed with him for almost an afternoon, and did not say goodbye until the evening. So Chen Ziya activated several magic arrays in the yard, and then the two went back to rest. Lin Changqing returned to his room, checked 2 or 3 times, and only activated the magic circle to enter the inner space after confirming that there was no problem. There was no other way. Hundreds of first-level shocking cicadas had already moved into the inner space. He had to go in and catch some of them and put them in the spirit beast bracelet. Let them starve for another 10 days, and then Huyana and the others could sign a contract with him. This matter must be done as soon as possible. That's why he was in such a hurry to enter the inner space. As soon as he entered, he released Lu Yaoqiang and Lu Yaoguang from the spirit beast bracelet and rewarded them with 3 red fruits each. He spent some time playing with the deer for a while, and after feeding them the soul-nourishing pill, he let them play by themselves. At this time, Su Miniang and Zhao Liao also came over. Lin Changqing handed them all the spiritual medicines that he had sorted out from the spoils some time ago, and asked them to arrange suitable locations to plant them. He also ordered to pay special attention to the newly arrived, the pregnant second-level tricolor deer. He just observed that its belly was already very big, and it should be giving birth soon. So he asked Su Miniang and Zhao Liao to take care of it more and try not to have any accidents. Then Lin Changqing asked about the output of the inner space in recent times. He learned that everything was normal and there were no major problems, and the newly arrived shocking cicadas were also very honest and did not fly around. So he was relieved. At least in the inner space, the first-level tricolor deer and the little bees don't have to suffer. And knowing that Su Miniang brewed another 20 kilograms of Xiuguo wine and stored nearly 300 Xiuguo, Lin Changqing was really happy and left a little for both of them as a reward. He packed up the rest and took it away. Finally, he went to the purple bamboo forest and used the purple crystal scorpion to express and catch 36 first-level shocking cicadas and put them in the spirit beast bracelet to starve. After confirming that there was no problem, he exited the inner space. The total time he was in was less than an hour. The main reason is that there are too many high-level cultivators here, and he'd dare not stay in there for too long. After a while, he will go out to travel, and there will be no problem. Now that the trial is over, he has returned to the Jiayin Mountain Station. Those cultivations that he didn't take care of in the secret realm should be restored. Therefore, he hurriedly started to practice according to the previous practice arrangement. After 2 or 3 hours, when the practice was over, he went to find Chen Ziya and started another kind of practice. It was not until very late that it really ended. Chapter 505, A Makeover. The next day, the two men estimated that the great-grandmother should have completed her cultivation, and then they went to the top of the mountain to meet her as agreed. The two were very familiar with this place, and they did not need anyone to lead the way. They kept saying hello to the people they met along the way. When they arrived at the courtyard where the great-grandmother lived, she already knew that they had come, and was waiting for them in the living room. The two men went forward to greet them. "Grandson. Meet the great-grandmother, grandson. Meet the great-grandmother." The great-grandmother looked at them, and she was very satisfied to see that both of them had improved their cultivation by 3 levels. So she nodded and said, "Okay. No need to be polite, we are all family, find a place to sit." Lin Changqing agreed and sat down below the great-grandmother. Chen Ziya was very conscious, took out a set of tea sets, and brewed Juluchan tea for the great-grandmother. The great-grandmother's main attention was still on Lin Changqing. There were still very few descendants of the Lin family who could catch her eye. So the more she watched, the more satisfied she was. She said to Lin Changqing, "Zio Kinger, tell me about your experience in this trial." Lin Changqing knew that the great-grandmother would definitely ask this, so she didn't hide too much, except for the part that couldn't be said. She told the great-grandmother about her experience in the secret realm, including the reunion with Chen Ziya, the discovery of the purple bamboo forest and the subjugation of the god-shaking cicada, the hunting of monsters and the counter-killing of the fishing demon pill, and the final sacrifice array melee, etc. The great-grandmother deduced what she heard in her mind, and didn't find anything wrong, and felt very happy. Especially when she heard that Lin Changqing won the first place in the foundation building stage and also obtained a magical seed. She felt that his performance in this trial was quite good and could be regarded as impeccable. At this time, Chen Ziya also said, "Grandmother, we found something inside this time. I don't know if it's good or not, so I brought it here this time. Please take a look." When the great-grandmother heard it, she immediately knew that this thing must be extraordinary, Otherwise she wouldn't have brought it here to show her. So she smiled and said, "Then take it out quickly. I want to see what good thing it is. I asked you to bring it to me." Chen Ziyi listened and took out the jade slip from the storage bag with a smile. Inside was the method of refining the Yushin soul shield. After the great-grandmother took it, she checked it directly. The divine consciousness of the giant and cultivator was very powerful. In just a short while, she had finished checking it. However, after reading it, the great-grandmother frowned slightly, and said after thinking for a while, "This thing should be regarded as a part of the core inheritance of the Black Soul sect. In terms of soul defense, it is indeed outstanding, but the Black Soul sect has a very bad reputation. It once harmed the monks of many sects in the Xuanayan continent, and it is regarded as the public enemy of all sects on this continent. And this kind of sky-protecting soul shield is the signature magic weapon of their sect. If it is discovered by others, it may be difficult to explain. So if you really want to use it, you must be extremely cautious and never leak any information, otherwise there may be endless troubles." Lin Changqing nodded. He knew something about the Black Soul sect, so he didn't dare to mention it to anyone. However, Chen Ziyi didn't know the origin of the Black Soul sect, so she couldn't help but ask curiously, "Did the people of the Black Soul sect do something bad that angered the heavens and the people? How did they become the public enemy of Xuanayan continent and were resisted and hunted down by everyone?" The Great Mother glanced at her and explained, "They seem to use the souls of mortals and cultivators to refine a soul liquid used to cultivate the soul. But I don't know the details. Anyway, it is definitely not a good way. The sect has records that anyone who falls into their hands will basically end up with their souls scattered, and there is no chance of reincarnation. Therefore, it angered a lot of cultivators, and finally it was jointly wiped out by many major sects. I heard that there are still some remnants who are hiding in remote places, so it is best not to have anything to do with them." Hearing what the great goddess said, Chen Ziyi realized that this thing was not as simple as the two thought, and they might not be able to get the Yushin soul shield. I couldn't help but feel a little disappointed, so I couldn't help asking, "Then can't we use this thing? Can it be slightly modified, or directly changed in appearance? Otherwise, it would be a pity that such a good thing cannot be used." The great-grandmother listened and chuckled. When the Black Soul sect was wiped out, those major sects that participated must have more or less inherited the Black Soul sect. Do you think they would let go of such a good thing? It must have been changed in appearance, otherwise why are soul materials so hard to find on the market? Even if I'm not a specialized weapon refiner, I know that soul materials are precious and difficult to obtain, and it's because most of them have been collected by the major sects. Hearing this, Lin Changqing and Chen Ziyi both nodded. This matter was common sense, even they both knew it. The great-grandmother continued, "Don't think about this thing for now. Leave the jade slip with me for now. I will discuss it with true person Ziyan and see if she can complete the makeover if we give it to her for research. And this matter will definitely not be resolved so quickly, so don't worry about it. It's best to pretend that nothing happened and just practice with peace of mind." After hearing this, Lin Changqing and the others knew that this matter would definitely not go smoothly, so they didn't hold out such high hopes anymore. The great-grandmother looked at Lin Changqing again and asked, "Zio Kinger, now the trial is over. What are your plans next?" Lin Changqing also said with a smile, "Let's take a rest for a month or two, and then travel around. But I haven't decided on the specific destination yet. Great-grandmother, do you know any good places to recommend to your grandson?" When the great-grandmother heard this, she couldn't help laughing, and said to Lin Changqing, "No wonder Ji always says that you are more cunning than a monkey when it comes to fur. I just let out a little hint, and you got involved. You are such a smart little guy. But I just came to this Xuanayan continent, and I know only a limited amount of things. But on the way back this time, I heard that someone in the puppet sect of Wanfang domain has successfully formed a nascent soul, and the nascent soul ceremony will be held in half a year. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 506 Puppet Gate. Lin Changqing was moved when he heard this. Could it be that the great-grandmother was going to watch the ceremony on behalf of Qingyan sect? He could go and see it for himself. According to past practice, The newly promoted Yuanying Zhenjian will give public sermons, impart some cultivation methods and experiences, and may even answer questions for younger monks. There will be a big fair lasting 3 months to half a year. If you don't have a goal, you can consider going to the Puppet Gate to take a look. And the Wanfang domain is not too far from us. You can travel there while rushing there, and you can reach there within half a year. Hearing this, he realized that he was wrong, but at this time, Lin Changqing was already very tempted. But he was not here for the public sermons of the Yuanying Zhenjian, but for the big fair that lasted for several months. What he liked most was picking up bargains at street stalls. A big fair like this was the time for his innate merit true eye to play. And it is estimated that the monks from several surrounding domains should go there after hearing about the break. In that case, he would have more opportunities. So he has decided that his first target will be the Puppet Gate in Wanfang domain. He believes that he will not be disappointed. After making up his mind, he said with a smile, "That's great, thank you for your advice, great-grandmother. I have decided to go to the puppet sect to take a look. And since the name of their sect is Puppet Sect, they must be very good at making puppets. I will buy some back by the way, even if I don't need them, I can send them back to increase the family's heritage." The great-grandmother was very pleased to hear this, and nodded with a chuckle, saying, "That's right. The Puppet Sect is famous for being good at making puppets. Xiao Kinger, it's great that you can always think of giving back to the family. But remember to do what you can, take care of yourself first, and then consider giving back to the family when you are able. If one day you can cultivate to the Purple Mansion stage, or even the Golden Core stage, you won't need to do anything at that time. As long as you can ensure that you are always there, it will be the biggest reward to the Lin family. As for the gains in the secret realm this time, digest them as soon as possible, and then go out to travel." Lin Changqing understood what the great-grandmother meant, and quickly agreed. Then the two of them chatted with the great-grandmother for a while, and then said goodbye and left. When the two returned to their residence, Chen Ziya pulled him to sit in the pavilion, and then said, "Brother Qing, how about I go to Puppet Gate with you this time? Anyway, we are just going to participate in the nascent soul ceremony, there should be basically no danger. Besides, my current means are not too weak, so you take me with you." When Lin Changqing heard this, his head was big, and he knew that he must not agree to her, so he shook his head firmly and said, "No. Puppet Gate is just my first stop. I don't know where to go next, and there are too many high-level cultivators here in Xuanian continent. If I take you with me, I am not sure to protect your safety. So forget it this time. When our cultivation is higher in the future, I will take you out to travel together." Chen Ziya knew that he would not agree, but she still had the idea of just in case. Knowing that it was because the two people's cultivation was too low, Lin Changqing rejected her request, so she simply ignored him and went back to practice by herself. Seeing Chen Ziya leave and not entangled with this issue, Lin Changqing finally breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, he had many purposes for this trip, and it was really inconvenient to take Chen Ziya with him. But even if he left this time, he would leave 36 second-level amethyst scorpions to protect her, so the ones around him were not enough. So he planned to take advantage of the fact that he had just come out of the secret realm, and use the excuse that he had plenty of spiritual objects in his hands to train all the remaining amethyst scorpions to the second level. In this way, his strength would not be weakened. And Chuer, who had been in the late first level for quite a while, might as well advance together this time. Thinking about it, it made a lot of sense, so Lin Changqing also returned to his room and activated the magic circle. He released all the first-level amethyst scorpions and began to check them one by one. He found that there were no problems with all of them. The little guys had a solid foundation and fully met the prerequisites for advancement. So he put on a spiritual light shield for himself, took out the Zuinun heavy water bottle, and began to feed them Behozuhan wine. He had done this kind of thing several times and was very experienced. It didn't take long for all the first-level amethyst scorpions to fall into deep sleep. When they woke up again, they were already level 2 spirit insects. Next was Chuer. Lin Changqing simply released Chuyi as well. In fact, since coming to Jian Mountain, Chuyi and Chuer have been quite depressed because it was not their territory. So Lin Changqing did not dare to let them out. If they were killed as monsters, he would not know who to go to for justice. Therefore, most of the time, Chuyi and the others were kept in the spirit beast bracelet, but their nature was to like flying, so they felt depressed. Lin Changqing accompanied them and played well for a while before he began to check Chuer. Its foundation was a little worse than Chuyi at that time. But it should not be a big problem to advance to level 2. At most, he would wait for the 100 flowers drunk in soul wine and get it more. He told them the news of helping Chuer advance through the contract. Chuyi was fine, but Chuer immediately began to behave, acting cute, acting coquettishly, and trying to please. He ran into Lin Changqing's arms and then used his head to butt his chin. Chuer was much smarter than the purple crystal scorpion. Knowing that this is its critical moment, it must please its master. Seeing that it is so active, Lin Changqing finally gave it a certain amount of 100 flowers soul intoxicating wine. After it finished taking it and fell into deep sleep, he sent it to the spirit beast bracelet. And this time on the secret realm, Chuyi naturally made a great contribution, but it is too early to let it advance to the middle stage of the second stage now. Its foundation is not solid now, and it is not the time to advance. So Lin Changqing just stuffed it with 100-year-old red fruit. After that, he sent it back to the spirit beast bracelet, the second largest space, so as not to disturb Chuer's promotion. After doing all this, Lin Changqing took out the 2 magic weapon embryos he harvested this time. One is the green bell of Monk Yu Inkson, and the other is the black ink fountain. On the way back this time, most of the time was spent on refining 2 thunderbird eggs. So I haven't been able to study these 2 magic weapon embryos yet. Now I just have time to take them out and take a look. If it suits you, keep it. If not, leave it to Chen Ziya. Chapter 507 Mo Yun Dao. After a little thought, he picked up the cyan bell, injected mana into it and began to refine it. Because the owner had died, the mark left on it had basically dissipated, so it didn't take long for Lin Changqing to complete it. At this time, he knew that this cyan bell was called Hozin Ling, which was considered a magic weapon embryo that attacked the soul. The function was to seduce or amplify the desires in the heart, making people fall into half-true and half-false state, making people lose their minds and do things they dare not do at ordinary times. No wonder so many people lost their minds, their eyes were red, and they were fighting desperately around the sacrificial array. It should be affected by this magic weapon embryo, which magnified the desires in their hearts and lost their reason and judgment. So that they tried to compete for the last opportunity, but all died near the sacrificial array. This thing is especially suitable for dealing with a large number of enemies, which can cause them to kill each other. But for Lin Changqing, it is a bit redundant. Generally speaking, the enemies he encountered can be dealt with by the purple crystal scorpion and the shocking cicada. If they all join forces and still can't beat them, then the Hozin Ling will probably be useless against such a powerful enemy. So this thing is not suitable for Lin Changqing, but it is particularly suitable for Chen Ziya. The combination of the magic circle and Hozin Ling may have unexpected effects. After thinking it through, he reached out and wiped the green bell, erasing all the marks he left on it. Then he found a small jade box, put it away, and put it in the storage bag. I'll give it to Chen Ziya as a gift later. Then he picked up the black inkstone, studied it over and over again, and finally saw the 3 words Mo Yun Dao at the bottom. I understand, this is the name of the embryo of this magic weapon, and I began to inject mana into it. However, the time it takes to refine this Mo Yun Dao is about twice as long as the Hozin Ling just now. This proves that the quality of Mo Yun Dao is much better than Hozin Ling, and now Lin Changqing also knows the specific function of this thing. It really opened his eyes, and he also understood why the 2 spiritual insects, the purple crystal scorpion and the shocking god cicada, could not find Zhao Zongsheng at that time. Because this is a special flying magic weapon, because it is alive, its body is a dark cloud. It was only captured alive by a high-level cultivator and refined into a black cloud bucket, but it can obtain continuously enhanced abilities by devouring its own kind. If the number of swallowed is large enough, it can become a spiritual treasure, or even a congenital spiritual treasure. This level of powerful treasure is possible. And although its name is Mo Yun Dao, because it once swallowed an auspicious cloud, it also gained the ability to transform into an auspicious cloud. This is really too much in line with Lin Changqing's mind. Flying swords in the sky and riding clouds and mist are the dreams of every cultivator. However, if you keep driving the black dark cloud, it looks like an evil cultivator, without that kind of fairy-like momentum. So it is better to change to auspicious clouds, so that it fits Lin Changqing's temperament and identity. At least people will not know that it is not a good thing at a glance. Of course, when you are ready to do something bad occasionally, you can change into a black cloud to cover up your identity. And this thing is not only a flying magic weapon, It also has another very important function. That is to release its own body to form something similar to the dark cloud field. And its owner can rely on the special connection with Mo Yundao to achieve rapid movement in the dark cloud field. This is why Lin Changqing has never been able to find Zhao Zhuangsheng. Now if Mo Yundao releases its body, it can cover a radius of about 10 to 20 kilometers. With Lin Changqing's current mana, it is estimated that it can only support the dark cloud field and show it for about 5 hours. No wonder Zhao Zhuangsheng finally wanted to talk to Lin Changqing. It turned out that his own mana at that time should not be able to support it for long. Lin Changqing suddenly realized that he was still fooled by Zhao Zhuangsheng, and kept this matter in mind. Decided that if there is a chance next time, if I see this kid again, I must make up for this loss. He put away all these messy thoughts, took the mound out of the yard, and turned it into a cloud of 10 feet in radius. Then he stepped on it and began to try various flying methods around their residence. He found that the flying speed of the Moandao was quite fast, about 20% to 30% faster than his own flying speed of flying with his sword. Moreover, he could control it in any posture on the Moandao, standing or lying, which was very leisurely. Lin Changqing liked it very much. With this thing, he was like a tiger with wings. In the future, he could turn the area of more than 10 miles around him into a dark cloud field at any time. Pull the enemy to his territory, and then use the purple crystal scorpion and the shocking cicada to fight in a group. Just thinking about it made him feel very happy. After tossing around for a while, he sorted out his mood, returned to his room, and began his daily practice. When it was night, he met up with Chen Ziya. Lin Changqing gave the heart-confusing Ling to Chen Ziya, and introduced its function in detail, telling her that it was specially found and given to her. It was a compensation for Chen Ziya for not being able to travel with him. Seeing that Lin Changqing was so thoughtful, the depression caused by his rejection during the day finally disappeared in an instant. After spending some time to complete the ritual, he pulled Lin Changqing into the yard, activated several layers of magic arrays, and began to test the heart-confusing Ling. The two used several methods and finally had a deeper understanding of its power. Chen Ziya now likes this magic weapon embryo very much, although it is also very mana-consuming to use. But if it is combined with her array, it will really double the power. She has the confidence to single out 3 or 5 second stage late stage monsters, or late stage foundation building cultivators. After the two of them tossed for a while, Lin Changqing pulled her back to the room and began real practice. Just like that, 5 days later, Chen Ziya went to the General Affairs Hall of the sect to receive the contribution points reward for participating in the Jiazi trial. As for Lin Changqing, he got nothing, because he was not a disciple of Qingyuan sect after all, so of course he would not get any contribution points reward. So the matter promised by Liang Patriarch to use the identity jade card of other sect's disciples to exchange treasures at the sect's treasure pavilion was also done by Chen Ziya alone. Chapter 578 Lightning Spiritual Weapons. The two of them had already discussed and asked Chen Ziya to go to the treasure pavilion to take a look. If there were suitable treasures, they would exchange more of them. If the treasures they chose were not very good, then they would just exchange 1 or 2 treasures for their own good intentions. Because he already had a lot of treasures on him, Lin Changqing told Chen Ziya that if there were thunder attribute treasures, she could just help him exchange 1 or 2. She would arrange the rest herself, so when Chen Zi came back, he brought him 4 thunder attribute treasures. The first thunder attribute treasure was a fully mature second-level top-grade wind and thunder bamboo about 145 feet long. Unfortunately, the root part was gone. He looked at this thing and estimated that it could be refined into a set of 4 to 5 second-level top-grade wind and thunder sword spirit tools. The second treasure was a blue jade gourd, which was also about the size of a palm. It was a second-level top-grade spirit tool. Injecting mana in advance, it can store or emit 3 sunflower water yin thunders. This thing is a bit similar to the thunder horn. It's just that there is no spirit inside this jade gourd, but Lin Changqing also likes this thing very much, so he named it Kishu gourd. The remaining third and fourth treasures are the same thing, 2 pieces of head-sized golden crystal thunderstone, which makes Lin Changqing very happy. Thunder needles are made of this kind of golden crystal thunderstone as the main material. Now that there are 2 pieces of golden crystal thunderstone of this size, at least more than 20 thunder needles can be refined. You know, during this period of time, dozens of thunder acupoints have suddenly increased, and he simply doesn't have so many thunder attribute spiritual tools. So the suppression objects in the thunder acupoints behind are all first-level thunder spirit pearls, which is not right no matter how you look at it. So now he has a great demand for thunder attribute spiritual tools. So he decided to take this opportunity to give all the thunder attribute materials on his body to Huyana, and ask her to help find someone to refine the materials into thunder attribute spiritual tools. Huyana also readily agreed, promising to help him process and refine them within a month and a half. Of course, the required expenses were deducted from the more than 600 spiritual tools that were given to her last time. There was nothing special in the following time. Days passed one by one, and he lived a relatively leisurely life during this period. In addition to cultivation, he would either drink tea and chat with Chen Ziya under the moonlight, or talk about love, or Huyana and others would come to visit, and everyone would talk about everything. Or he and Chen Ziya would visit Huyana and others, or go to the market organized by Qinghai sect with everyone to stroll around. Until one day, Huyana brought him 78 thunder spiritual tools, including 2 sets of second-grade top-grade thunder golden needles. Each set has 12 pieces, a total of 24 pieces, a set of 5 second-grade top-grade wind and thunder flying swords. The remaining ones were the second-grade town objects refined according to Lin Changqing's intention. At that time, he asked for them to be as high as possible above the second level, and the more the better, and it didn't matter if the power was a little smaller. So the person Huyana found, according to his request, used the thunder attribute materials it provided. All of them were refined into a set of Qinglai piles, a total of 49 pieces, all of which were second-level low-grade spiritual tools. With these thunder spiritual tools, Lin Changqing spent some time, using the secret technique of receiving treasures to refine them, and sent them into the thunder acupoints. All the thunder spirit pearls inside were replaced. And with so many spiritual tools, he felt that his strength had increased a little. And during this period of time, the dozens of purple crystal scorpions and Shu have all been successfully promoted to the second level. So at this time, everything is ready for him. He didn't want to stay here and waste time. After all, Wenrao is the tomb of heroes, so after 3 days of fierce entanglement with Chen Ziya, he said goodbye to his great-grandmother and several uncles, as well as Huyana and Zhao Mingxia. After that, Chen Ziya sent him out of the Qinghai sect's residence. In Chen Ziya's reluctance, he stepped on a piece of auspicious cloud and left quickly. If he didn't leave quickly, he was afraid that he would not be able to help himself and really take Chen Ziya with him. But before he could guarantee her absolute safety, he didn't dare to take such a big risk. He and Lin Changqing had a life and death contract, so it was not so easy for them to die. Chen Ziya didn't have that ability. It took 2 or 3 hours to leave the Jian mountain. Lin Changqing took out a jade slip and put it on his forehead to check. This was a rough map of the 8 or 9 nearby domains that Chen Ziya found for Lin Changqing in the Qinghai sect's Sutra Pavilion. The markings on it were still quite detailed, with the approximate terrain of mountains and rivers, and the names of places. There were also the spheres of influence that needed to be passed along the way, the locations and names of the markets along the way, and some mortal towns, villages, and other information. This allowed Lin Changqing to grasp his approximate location and not get lost. Now Lin Changqing flew towards the nearest market to Jian Mountain, called Donggan Market, which would take about 2 days to fly. Now Lin Changqing was lying on a piece of auspicious cloud that was about 10 feet in radius, while Chui and Chur were in the sky, providing him with all-round warnings. Now all he needed was someone to make tea for him. He was so relaxed. But at this moment, he suddenly received a warning from Chui and Chur. 3 people flew towards his auspicious cloud, and were surrounding him. It seemed that they wanted to intercept him. Lin Changqing knew that he must have encountered a robbery cultivator. It felt like he hadn't met such a person for a long time. He suddenly wanted to play with them, so he pretended not to notice them. He continued to fly forward in the original direction until the 2 sides were about 400 feet away. Lin Changqing suddenly laughed. Then the auspicious cloud under him immediately expanded into a large black area at a very fast speed. In a very short time, it covered an area of more than 10 miles in radius. At this time, the 3 robbery cultivators in the dark cloud field immediately knew that something was wrong and realized that they must have hid a wall this time. So they immediately controlled the flying sword to change direction and wanted to leave in the original direction. But how could such a good thing happen? Lin Changqing's mind moved, and dozens of purple lights shot out from the spirit beast bracelet. Not long after, He caught up with the 3 robber cultivators, but he did not kill them immediately. Chapter 509, Mo Yundao's New Discovery. Instead, they forced them to run around through purple rays. In fact, Lin Changqing wanted to see if they had any powerful means. Unexpectedly, except for the higher cultivation, there was nothing too outstanding. The 3 of them were all in the late stage of foundation building. It was probably because of their high cultivation that they dared to come out as robbery cultivators. The 3 of them each had several layers of defense, and each of them controlled several flying swords, trying to fight against the purple crystal scorpion. Unfortunately, they were in the dark cloud field, and their spiritual sense and vision were greatly affected, and they almost became blind. Lin Changqing knew this feeling best, and he had experienced it himself last time. The range of spiritual sense in it would be suppressed to only about 30%. Anyway, normal cultivators would be very uncomfortable all of a sudden. Not to mention, the eyes could not see anything more than 3 feet away in it, so if they were not blind, they would become blind. Seeing that the 3 of them had been tossing around in it for a long time, they didn't use any powerful means, so they decided not to waste time and play with them. Let's stop here. So he thought about it, and after dozens of purple rays, the 3 were shot into sieves, and the cat and mouse game was over. However, at this time, Lin Changqing made a special discovery. He was still standing on the auspicious cloud, but he didn't hear any screams. Does that prove that this dark cloud field has the function of isolating sound, and the sound inside will be greatly weakened, or simply not be transmitted? In order to verify his guess, he released dozens of second-level shocking cicadas into the dark cloud field. About a mile away from him, let them start chirping. Sure enough, although he still heard some movement outside, the sound he heard was much smaller than normal. With a thought, he let them fly a little further away, and about 2 miles away from him, they chirped again. This time he didn't hear any sound at all, and couldn't help but be overjoyed in his heart. He discovered another important function of the dark cloud field. Thinking back to when he was in the dark cloud field, the sounds around him were indeed smaller than usual. But because it was a big battle at that time, he didn't have much energy to pay attention to this phenomenon. Now thinking back, it also confirmed his guess. That is, in the dark cloud field, the transmission of sound will be weakened, which is more severe than in normal environment. For example, the sharp scream of a cultivator when he's dying can be transmitted to 4 or 5 miles away under normal environment. But in the dark cloud field, it can only be transmitted 1 or 2 miles, which is already the best. So the weakening of the opponent's sound in the dark cloud field should be at least 50%. With this discovery, he likes Mo Yundao even more. It really suits him, and it is a perfect match with the purple crystal scorpion. The purple crystal scorpion is good at everything, but people who are hit by their purple light needles or purple light rays will make sharp screams. This also tells the surrounding enemies in disguise that something happened here, so it is very disadvantageous to Lin Changqing. Now with this Mo Yundao, it will be even more perfect with the purple crystal scorpion. After figuring it out, Lin Changqing's alarm clock was in a very good mood. He went down to collect the storage bags on the 3 robbers and the spiritual tools scattered around. Then he used the fireball technique to clean up their bodies, leaving no traces that could track him. This time, he found 3 storage bags and more than 10 offensive and defensive spiritual tools on the 3 unlucky guys, most of which were medium and upper grade. Just when he was about to leave, he suddenly remembered that he still had something very important to do. So he spent a little more time and found a more secluded place in a nearby forest. It was a natural cave with a blind bear sleeping inside. Lin Changqing wanted to kill it, but after thinking about it, he gave up. He just knocked it unconscious, and then endured the stench and dug some more inside on the basis of the original cave. Then he communicated with Lin Changqing and let it leave a space mark inside. Then he used a huge stone to block the part that had just been dug out, leaving only about 10 feet of space inside. He also made some gravel for camouflage until he could not see anything unusual outside, and then threw the blind bear back into its stinky den, and Lin Changqing left. In this way, if he needs to return to Jian Mountain quickly in the future, it will be much more convenient. After summoning back the purple crystal scorpion and the startling cicada that he had released, he continued his journey. This time he finally had something to do, which was to stay on the auspicious cloud and check the harvest in several storage bags. It took a while to refine the 3 storage bags, and then poured them all on the auspicious cloud, and found that there were very few things inside. The low-grade spirit stones added up to less than 20,000 pieces, the medium-grade spirit stones were only more than 100 pieces, and there were only a dozen scattered bottles of elixirs. There were only the 10 or so spiritual tools that Lin Changqing picked up. It seemed that they had just taken out the things at the bottom of the box and used them. There were quite a few messy sundries and clothes, but he didn't like these things, so he put them all in a storage bag. He didn't find the identity jade card and other things he wanted to find the most. Instead, he found a bunch of entry and exit certificates from more than 10 or 20 markets. It proves that these people should be wandering between these markets. In addition, they are so poor that they are definitely casual practitioners. Finally, there are few jade slips. Lin Changqing took a look and found that they are all very ordinary exercises. They should be the exercises widely circulated in the market. He looked down on this level of exercises, but he still collected them. He planned to send them to the Sutra library when he returned to the family in the future. It can be regarded as giving back to the family and enriching the family's heritage. 2 days passed like this. Lin Changqing stayed on the auspicious cloud for 2 days and found that he was too idle, which was not good. So, he divided a part of his mind to control Mo Yundao to hurry on the road, and the remaining 9 parts were used to practice various spells and magical powers, which was also a reasonable use of time. Anyway, he had Chui and Shuer to help watch over his head, so he was not afraid that he would be attacked by others. In the evening of that day, he arrived at the outskirts of Dong'an Market and stopped about 10 miles away from the market. Chapter 510, Flaunt and Disdain. He put on a hidden spirit mask and replaced the Mo Yundao with an ordinary second-grade upper-grade flying sword. Then he called Chui and Shuer back to the spirit beast bracelet to rest. After he was ready, he flew towards the entrance of Dong'an Market. Because it was his first time here, he honestly spent 2 low-grade spirit stones at the entrance to apply for an entry and exit certificate. Fortunately, there were not many people in front, and it took only a short time to complete the process. When he stepped into the market and walked around, he found that there didn't seem to be much difference between this place and the market in Qinghai Corner. Maybe there were more foundation-building cultivators, and occasionally 1 or 2 purple mansion cultivators could be seen. But here, there were indeed more Qinghai sect disciples, and some cultivators with marks on their clothes. It is estimated that they should be disciples of nearby small sects or families. These people often come in groups of 3 or 5. Compared with the surrounding casual cultivators, they are more ostentatious and disdainful. That's right, this kind of disdain is aimed at casual cultivators. Lin Changqing has no marks on him now. In the eyes of others, he is just a casual cultivator. However, these things have nothing to do with Lin Changqing. He doesn't mind what others think. As long as they don't provoke him, there will be nothing. If they dare to provoke him, he will not be polite. Now he is alone and has no worries. Because he is traveling and not in a hurry, he decided to stay here for 2 or 3 days to see if there are any good things in this place. He found a hotel and opened a room with a newly processed access certificate. Then he went out to find a place and had a spiritual meal before coming back. It's still the old rules. Use your spiritual sense to check the room carefully twice. After confirming that there is no problem, you can arrange a second-level breathing array in the room. This second-level breathing array is also their spoils in the secret realm. This time, at least in that pile of storage bags, there are more than 20 array plates of various types, both first level and second level. Most of them were taken by Lin Changqing. He decided to keep a few of the better ones and take the rest to the inner space and set them up. After activating the Naxi formation, he went directly into the inner space. He hadn't come in for more than a month. When the deer saw him, they were so happy that they all ran over to welcome him. And this time there was a new member. It was a little 3-color deer, really very small, probably just born not long ago, small, tender, and only a little over a foot tall. Seeing Lin Changqing, a stranger, hiding behind its mother, with its cute big eyes, calling yo-yo to him, but not daring to come out. It was so cute that Lin Changqing almost died of cuteness. He couldn't help but hold this little guy in his arms and love him well. However, considering that everyone was not familiar with each other, he didn't really do that. Instead, he found a first-level spiritual peach in the storage bag to lure it. Although this little guy wanted it very much, he was still timid and didn't dare to come over. It was his mother who encouraged it all the time. It dared to approach Lin Changqing, and he had already cut a peach in his hand into several pieces in advance, and took out the peach pit inside. He was afraid that the peach pit would get stuck in this little guy. It turned out that it was easier to deceive when it was young. In the end, it couldn't resist the temptation of the peach, came to his side, and carefully stretched out its head to eat the fruit in his hand. Lin Changqing waited for a while before he dared to reach out and touch it gently. At this time, it didn't react much, and was busy eating, so Lin Changqing held it in his arms directly. Finally, the wish just now came true. This little thing is really cute, so cute. So according to his naming principle, he decided to call it Lu Xiameng in the future. At this time, the other three color deer were not idle, especially Lu Xiaoling and Lu Xiamin. They were really jealous. They kept thinking about getting into Lin Changqing's arms, but he took a lot of effort to appease them. This time he was not in a hurry, so he spent a long time playing with the deer, basically communicating with each of them for a while. He found that the new deer Yoren and his family were very satisfied with this place after experiencing it for a while. This was within Lin Changqing's expectations. Although the space here was not large, it was safe and guaranteed, and there was enough food for them to eat. It would be strange if they were not satisfied. Finally, he fed all the three color deer with the Yulang pills and Zhu fruits. However, Lu Xiameng was born not long ago, and it was not suitable for him to take Zhu fruits now, so he only got a first-level Yulang pill. Then Lin Changqing let them go out to play by themselves, and summoned Su Miniang and Zhao Liu, who had been waiting for a while, over. After the two greeted each other, she asked, "When was the little guy born?" "He looks very small," Zhao Liu smiled and replied, "It should be about half a month ago. It was smaller when it was born, and now it has grown a little, but it is really cute. It's just a little timid, always close to its mother, and it's impossible to play with it." Hearing her say this, Lin Changqing and Su Miniang couldn't help laughing. It's probably because Zhao Liu saw it was cute and wanted to hug it, but she didn't succeed in the end. Lin Changqing continued to ask, "Did the cicadas have no problems in the past month?" Both of them shook their heads, and then Su Miniang said, "No problems have been found for the time being. It's just that they will chirp for a while every day, even if there is no external stimulation, and there is nothing else." Lin Changqing nodded, and he also found this pattern, that is, at noon every day, the cicadas will start chirping. So he said to the two of them, "It's okay. This should be their natural habit. I also found that they will chirp for a while at about noon. It's nothing. You can even use it as a time signal." When the two heard this, they felt very surprised that there was such a thing. Then the two of them reported the output of the space during this period of time to Lin Changqing. The things were almost the same as before. After listening to it, he had a rough idea in his mind. Chapter 511, Widely Deployed Formations. Seeing that the two of them had performed well over the past period of time, he suddenly remembered that there were still 12 half-starved cicadas left in his spirit beast bracelet. This was to allow Huyana and Zhao Mingxia to successfully contract the cicadas, so he specially prepared a few more. A month ago, they had successfully contracted, and the rest were here, and now they were just taken out to reward them. So he said to them, "Yes, you have done very well over the past period of time, and I am quite satisfied. So I plan to fulfill my promise to you at that time and give you 6 first-level cicadas each. I hope you must cultivate them well so that they can all be promoted to the 2nd level. If used well, this will be an important means of protecting your way." Su Miniang and Zhao Liu almost jumped up with joy when they heard it. They were so excited. Only they, who come into contact with this kind of spirit insects every day, can deeply understand the power of these cicadas. The two of them did not even dare to get too close to the purple bamboo forest. Unexpectedly, today, the master was so generous that he was willing to give them 6 each. 4 more than the 2 promised at the beginning, which made them so happy and excited. If they didn't know that the master didn't mean that, they would have taken the initiative to wait for the pillow and repay Lin Changqing. At this time, Su Miniang said to Lin Changqing respectfully, "Thank you for the reward, master. I will definitely train them well in the future. I promise not to lose the master's reputation." Zhao Mingyu also said, "Thank you for the reward, master. The same goes for me. I promise to go all out in the future to complete any task ordered by the master, even if I die, I will not hesitate." Lin Changqing listened and nodded and said, "Okay. I understand what you mean. I only ask you to practice well and help me take care of the inner space, which is the best reward for me. Now prepare to contract the shocking cicada." After speaking, Lin Changqing took out the contract formation that Chen Ziya improved last time from the storage bag, put it in front of the two people, and took out the insect cultivation inheritance jade slip, and asked them to read the part about the contract spirit insect carefully. After confirming that both of them had finished reading, he said to Su Miniang, "You go first." Su Miniang nodded excitedly, and then the two of them, with the help of Lin Changqing, completed the contract of the 6 God-shaking cicadas. After Su Miniang and Zhao Mingyu completed the contract, they immediately made spiritual peach juice to feed them. He also shared the feeding experience of the God-shaking cicada with them, and asked the two of them to do it themselves, each copying a copy of the insect cultivation inheritance, and waited for the two to finish. Lin Changqing continued, "I have some array plates in my hand, let's set them up today. The focus is on the small courtyard and the purple bamboo forest. Set up the second-level array. Other places, if necessary, can also be taken in and set up." Hearing what Lin Changqing said, Su Miniang and Zhao Mingyu looked at each other. Then Su Miniang spoke up, "Master, I think the purple bamboo forest does need a magic array to be set up to isolate it. Prevent the spiritual insects inside from flying out. As for the small courtyard, just change to a second-level defense magic array. No need for other places. After all, we usually still need the 3-color deer to go in and take care of and promote the spiritual medicines and plants. It is not very convenient to isolate it with a magic array." Zhao Liyu also said, "I think what Miniang said is right. However, I think there is another place in the inner space that also needs a magic array to isolate it. It is the deep pit in the center of the space. It is too dangerous there. It will be safer to isolate it with a magic array." When Lin Changqing heard this, he thought that in this way, only 3 sets of magic arrays would be needed in total, so there would be many array plates that could not be used. However, the inner space was mainly taken care of by the two of them, so it was right to listen to them. So he said, "Then do it according to your wishes. When there are extra array plates, put them in the storage room first, and you can use them directly when the space is needed in the future." The two heard that Lin Changqing listened to their opinions, and they were very happy in their hearts, so they quickly agreed. Then the 3 of them started to work together, and arranged a second-level defensive array, the Zuanwu Mountain Guarding Array, for the small courtyard and the deep pit. As for the purple bamboo forest, because it was mainly to prevent the startling cicada from flying out, a second-level trapping array, the small 5 elements inversion array, was arranged. Fearing that there would be spirit beasts or spirit bees that didn't know the situation and broken in the future, the 3 of them discussed and arranged another defensive array outside. In this way, the unstable factors in the inner space were controlled, and Lin Changqing didn't have to worry that one day in the future, the startling cicada would suddenly go crazy. They went to the beehive again, got a portion of the Yulang pill for the queen bee and turned it into water, and then took away all the 100-year-old zoo fruit and zoo fruit wine produced during this period. When he left Jihu Mountain, he left most of his Zhuguo and Zhuguo wine to Chen Ziya, as well as some resources needed to cultivate the purple crystal scorpion. He only had a little left to maintain his practice, but now he has replenished some of it, so he doesn't have to worry about the interruption of practice resources. After confirming that there was no problem here, Lin Changqing exited the inner space and returned to the hotel room. He made himself a pot of green jade tea and tasted it slowly. He was still very uncomfortable with leaving Chen Ziya suddenly. No one ordered tea for him, no one whispered beside him, and no one practiced the yin-yang harmony sutra with him. It was really not accustomed. Fortunately, his self-control was still very strong. After feeding him a pot of spiritual tea, he put aside his messy thoughts and began to practice the Thunder Sutra. Early the next morning, after completing the basic practice of the 5 Elements Chaos Sutra, he left the hotel. However, the target was not the street stall square here, but the Wanbao Pavilion, the tallest and most obvious building in Dongfang City. Because according to past experience, it was too early to go to the street stall square, and he was still short of a lot of Thunder attribute spiritual tools. And the spiritual crystals needed for the second-level purple crystal scorpion were almost consumed, so he decided to go to Wanbao Pavilion first. When he arrived at Wanbao Pavilion, as soon as he stepped into the door, a young female cultivator came up to greet him and said, "Welcome to Wanbao Pavilion, Senior, you can go to the 3rd floor for tea." Lin Changqing nodded, and then followed behind the female cultivator in the key refining stage. The two came to a private room on the 3rd floor. As soon as they sat down, a maid served 2 cups of spiritual tea. Chapter 512, Heavenly Bird 5 Thunder Fan. However, he did not move. Instead, he waited until the maid left before he said, I need some second-level spirit crystals, either early or mid-level. If the price is right, I will buy more, probably more than 100 copies. When the young female cultivator heard this, she knew that this was a big customer, and she smiled and said, Junior Wan Qingling, meet the senior, you can call me Xiao Wan or Xiao Ling. The spirit crystals that the senior just mentioned are now in the pavilion. The specific price and quantity will be checked by the junior. Do you have any other needs? If so, I will help you check it together. After speaking, he looked at Lin Changqing expectantly. Lin Changqing nodded and said, then trouble Xiao Wan. I need a few more second-level middle high-grade or higher thunder attribute spirit tools here. If you have any here, you can also take them over to have a look. When Wan Yaling heard this, she quickly agreed, then said goodbye and went down to prepare the things that Lin Changqing needed. Lin Changqing waited for a while, and Wan Yaling came back with a large tray in her hand. After she sat down, she took out a piece of purple crystal and handed it to Lin Changqing before introducing it. This is a second-level medium-grade purple crystal steel. The spiritual material is relatively hard and has a little toughness. It is more suitable for refining defensive spiritual tools. Each portion is 2,800 low-grade spiritual stones, and there are about 350 portions in stock in the pavilion. When Lin Changqing heard that each portion was 2,800 spiritual stones, he couldn't help but frown. This is really much more expensive than Qingyuan horn. Seeing that Lin Changqing didn't speak, Wan Yaling waited for a while, then took out another golden and a crimson crystal. After handing it to Lin Changqing, he introduced it. This golden spiritual crystal is a second-level medium-grade spiritual material, golden crystal copper, which has better spiritual energy conductivity. It is suitable for refining things like array plates, and each portion requires 2,600 low-grade spiritual stones. There are about 500 portions in stock in the pavilion. The crimson crystal is a second-level low-grade spiritual material, red flame crystal sand, which is an auxiliary material for enhancing fire properties. Spiritual items suitable for attack and defense of various fire attributes. Each item costs 1,500 lower-grade spirit stones, and there are about 200 items in stock in the pavilion. I don't know which of these three spiritual materials the senior needs, so that I can ask the warehouse in the back to prepare it. Lin Changqing was speechless. Of course, he wanted purple crystal steel, and of course he could also have some golden crystal copper, but the problem was that these things were really too expensive. A cultivator like him who had a little spiritual stone couldn't stand it, so he couldn't help but ask, I need 150 items of purple crystal steel and 50 items of golden crystal copper. But I think the price is too expensive, please ask your shopkeeper. These 200 spiritual materials, each item costs 2,400 lower-grade spirit stones. If possible, we can make a deal now. When Wan Yaling heard this, she was hesitant and wanted to say something to Lin Changqing, but Lin Changqing ignored her. In the end, she had no choice but to say goodbye and leave. It seemed that she should go down to ask their shopkeeper for instructions. After waiting for a while, Wan Yaling and a middle-aged foundation building cultivator came to the private room where Lin Changqing was. At this time, Wan Yaling was the first to introduce, Senior, this is our shopkeeper Li Toyota. The junior's level is not high enough, and the shopkeeper will receive you in person. After that, she stepped aside to serve. At this time, the shopkeeper Li Toyota continued to say, Li Toyota, meet this Taoist friend. Lin Changqing sensed it a little and knew that he was a great perfection in the foundation building cultivation, so he did not dare to neglect him. So he also said, hello, shopkeeper Li, I wonder what I proposed just now? Did shopkeeper Li agree? After listening to Li Toyota, he laughed and said, it seems the Taoist friend is also a straightforward person, so I won't beat around the bush. I can't agree to the price you just mentioned. The price I can offer is 2,500 low-grade spirit stones per piece. And you need to buy at least 250 pieces at one time to achieve this price. If you don't believe it, you can go to the surrounding shops to ask. There will definitely not be a lower price than our Wanbao pavilion. After hearing this, Lin Changqing couldn't help but mutter in his heart, you are the idiot. However, although he didn't go to the surrounding shops to ask the price, he also knew that Li Toyota dared to say so, and there would definitely not be a lower price than this. So he nodded and said, shopkeeper Li said so, then it must be the most suitable price. How about this? Give me 200 pieces of purple crystal steel, and 60 pieces of gold crystal copper. A total of 260 pieces of spirit materials should meet shopkeeper Li's requirements. Li Toyota heard it and said with a smile, Dao Yao is really a straightforward person. I like to deal with straightforward people like you. Just do as you say. I heard from Xiaowan that fellow Taoist needs a few mid to high grade spiritual tools with thunder attributes. It just so happens that we have two good ones here. Let me introduce them to you. Lin Changqing also chuckled and nodded, saying, then I'll trouble shopkeeper Li. No trouble, it's my duty. Then Li Toyota picked up a 5-color feather fan and continued to introduce it. This is a second level upper grade spiritual tool, the Changqing 5 Thunder Fan. It is made by extracting the tail feathers of 5 thunder-type spiritual birds with cultivation at the peak of the second level. Originally, I wanted to imitate the high-level magic weapon Xianfeng Shanli Fan to refine a top-grade spiritual tool, but unfortunately there was a small mistake in the middle. In the end, only the second-level upper-grade Changqing 5 Thunder Fan was refined, but I can guarantee that it is definitely the best among the second-level upper-grade spiritual tools. Seeing that Li Toyota said so much, but the most important information was not said, Lin Changqing couldn't help but ask, how many spirit stones do I need to buy this spiritual fan? Li Toyota said, since you are a big customer, you can take it away for only 45,000 low-grade spirit stones. This Changqing 5 Thunder Fan has the innate spirit feathers of 5 kinds of thunder spirit birds, each of which can fire a divine thunder. It can be fired continuously or one by one. The power is not much less than that of a top-grade spirit weapon. Lin Changqing nodded. He had guessed early on that this thing should be a spirit weapon that can fire 5 kinds, or 5 divine thunders. He had already decided in his heart to get it. So he said, okay. After listening to Manager Li's introduction, it seems that it can't be wrong. Then I want this thing. After speaking, he took the Changqing 5 Thunder Fan in his hand and played with it. In fact, he was carefully examining the specific situation of this spirit weapon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 513 6 Thunder Mirrors. When Li Fengshan heard that Lin Changqing said that he had made a good introduction and agreed to buy the Changqing 5 Thunder Fan, he couldn't help but feel proud. He felt that he was still capable. If he didn't do it himself, he wouldn't be able to deal with this big customer. However, he quickly controlled his emotions and picked up another spiritual item. He introduced it, Dao Yao. This is a second-level upper-grade spiritual weapon, the 6-Path Thunder Mirror. Now it seems that there is only one mirror, but after the sacrifice is completed, it can be divided into 5 sub-mirrors to form 6 thunder mirrors, forming 6 defenses around the body, and the 6-sided thunder mirror is very sensitive, and it can be sent as soon as you think about it. It is a very good self-defense spiritual weapon. As long as the mother mirror is intact, the other sub-mirrors can be restored even if they are damaged. The most important thing is that this 6-Path Thunder Mirror can reflect other people's spell attacks when necessary. If used properly, it can even be used to turn the tide of the battle at a critical moment. Such a good spiritual weapon is not expensive. It only takes 55,000 lower-grade spirit stones to take it away. What do you think, Dao Yao? Lin Changqing nodded. In fact, when he heard that this was a top-grade defensive spiritual weapon that could form a 6-sided thunder mirror, he had already planned to buy it. As for the fact that it is not easily damaged and can reflect spells, can it only be regarded as an unexpected surprise? So he said, okay. Shopkeeper Li speaks so highly of this spiritual weapon. If I don't buy it, I would be letting Shopkeeper Li down. I want both of these thunder-attributed spiritual weapons, plus the 260 spiritual crystals. Calculate how many low-grade spirit stones are needed. Hearing what Lin Changqing said, Shopkeeper Li almost laughed out loud. After a quick calculation, he said, thank you for your support and recognition of Wanbao Pavilion. The things you just mentioned will cost a total of 750,000 low-grade spirit stones. Lin Changqing nodded, took out his storage bag, and poured out a large pile of low-grade spirit stones. This time, he almost cleared out all the low-grade spirit stones in his hand. Then he took out the second-level VIP card he had applied for in Linton City and handed it to Shopkeeper Li. He took it and used the secret method to look at it. There was a record in it, which showed that 240,000 spirit stones had been consumed, plus today's 750,000 spirit stones. It is more than enough to upgrade to a 3rd level VIP card. Even if it is upgraded to a 4th level VIP card, it only needs to consume another 260,000 low-grade spirit stones. So he said, the spirit stones consumed by fellow Taoists have reached the standard of a 3rd level VIP card. Now I will replace the VIP card for you. Lin Changqing nodded. He had experience in this matter. He took the new VIP card and completed the sacrifice in a short while. Then shopkeeper Li used a secret method to write the amount of spirit stones consumed today into the new VIP card, and finally returned it to Lin Changqing. When he was about to say goodbye and leave, shopkeeper Li spoke again. Dao, if you have time recently, you can go to the puppet gate in Wanfang domain to have a look. Half a year later, the nascent soul ceremony will be held there. At that time, the newly promoted nascent soul patriarch will give a lecture, which will last about 10 days. After the lecture is completed, Wanbao Pavilion will hold a grand auction, in which many spiritual objects that are rarely seen in normal times will be auctioned. If Taoist friends are interested, they can participate in the auction with the 3rd level VIP card. Just go to the Wanbao Pavilion there in advance and sign up. Lin Changqing shook his head and said, "Thank you, shopkeeper Li, for telling me. If I have time recently, I will go and see it. It's nothing, I'll take my leave first. Please stay and don't see me off, so as to avoid unnecessary trouble." When the two heard this, they immediately understood what Lin Changqing meant, so they only said goodbye to him in the private room. After he put away the newly bought spirit crystal and 2 spirit tools, he left the Wanbao Pavilion. In order to buy these things, he had been delayed for almost an hour. Now he is going to the street stall square in Donggan Market to take a look. Fortunately, he probably visited the entire market yesterday. He already knows where the street stall square is, so there is no need to ask others for directions, just go directly there. However, he just came out of the Wanbao Pavilion, and there is no guarantee that there will not be some people with ulterior motives. So he has been paying attention to the surrounding situation to see if anyone is staring at him. Fortunately, since he was promoted to the 5th residence of the foundation building, his spiritual sense has increased a little. Now it is almost the same, and he can detect a distance of about 450 feet, which is already the level of the normal late stage of the foundation building. Fortunately, he used his spiritual sense to observe carefully for a while, and everything was normal. He deliberately walked around 2 streets, and after finding nothing wrong, he officially set off for the street stall square. The distance to the street stall square was not too far. Half a quarter of an hour later, he had already arrived. In fact, to find such a place, just follow the flow of people in the morning. Basically, it is almost there. These people must be monks who set up stalls in the street stall square to do business, or go to the square to buy spiritual objects. The place is quite large, with 500 or 600 stalls on site, mainly for cultivators in the key refining and foundation building stages. Seeing this lively scene, Lin Changqing was faintly excited. This time Chen Ziya was not around, and he could finally go shopping happily without having to distract himself to take care of her. After looking at 40 or 50 stalls, he had some insights in his heart. The level of cultivation on the Xuanayan continent is indeed one level higher than that on the Qinghai corner. Among the dozens of stalls just now, there are 2 that sell second-level elixirs, and Lin Changqing also faintly smelled the fragrance of the elixir on the stall owner. This kind of elixir fragrance can only be found on alchemists, which means that these second-level elixirs on the stalls are all made by the stall owners themselves. In Qinghai, he had not met a casual cultivator who could reach the level of a second-level alchemist for so long. So the level of cultivation here is a level higher, and there are many kinds of things on the stalls here. Like elixirs, spiritual medicines, magic tools, spiritual tools, exercises, secret techniques, spiritual beasts, spiritual insects. It can be said that everything is available. Many things that are rare in Qinghai can be found here. After visiting more than 200 stalls, he finally saw a token on a stall. The surface of this token is now emitting a colorful halo. When he saw the halo again, Lin Changqing's heart beat violently. Finally, he saw something good again. He hadn't seen a halo item for a long time. He forced himself to calm down, then squatted down and took the token in his hand to study it. Chapter 514 Unknown Aura Item. On one side of this thing is the word Ling in golden seal script, and on the other side are many incomprehensible runes. The whole token feels light in the hand. Just by the texture, he can conclude that this thing must be extraordinary, but it is really strange that there is no pressure from high-level treasures when sensing it with spiritual consciousness. To be honest, he has seen a lot of good things, but this time he turned it over and couldn't figure out what this token is, or what its function is. So, he simply asked the stall owner, "Dao, what is this token? Why does it feel so strange?" The middle-aged stall owner looked at him and said, "I don't know what this thing is. But I know it must be not simple. If Dao knows its specific function, please tell me, I will thank you with 5,000 low-grade spirit stones. If Dao doesn't want to tell you and wants to buy it, you need to buy it with 100,000 low-grade spirit stones, and I won't sell it less." After that, he kept staring at Lin Changqing, but he was destined to be disappointed, because Lin Changqing himself didn't know what this thing was. However, Lin Changqing was also thinking about whether it was worth using 100,000 low-grade spirit stones to buy an aura item whose function was difficult to know. After thinking about it, Lin Changqing still said, "My fellow Taoist, I really don't know what this thing is. I feel that it may be a treasure. So I am more or less interested, but 100,000 low-grade spirit stones are too much? How about you make it cheaper?" The middle-aged stall owner saw Lin Changqing and said something quite sincere, which left a good impression on him. In fact, he already had a rough idea of this thing in his mind. This should be a special treasure, either the key to open a cave or a secret treasure, or a token representing a high-level cultivator. These two functions are difficult for him to turn into cultivation resources. The first possibility is that the unknown cave or secret treasure may not be known for a lifetime. And if it is a token of a high-level cultivator, then this thing is also obtained by him through extraordinary means. Taking it to that person is equivalent to seeking death. Besides, he didn't know who this high-level cultivator was, and what his specific situation was. So he actually preferred to sell this thing directly and exchange it for cultivation resources. What I said just now was that if he knew the function of this thing, giving 5,000 spirit stones as a thank you was just a strategy. But no matter how he struggled, there were still very few people interested in this token. After listening to his words, there was no cultivator who dared to bargain. Therefore, after considering it, he decided to put it in his pocket for safety, so he asked, "How much do you think this token is suitable for? Think about it carefully. If you don't have any sincerity, I would rather it fall on my hands than sell it to you." When Lin Changqing heard him say this, he knew there was a play, and the stall owner was quite willing to sell it. After careful consideration, he decided to cut it in half first, and then cut it in half again to make an integer. So he said, "I feel that the grade of this thing should be around the upper second grade, then I'll offer 30,000 lower grade spirit stones. What do you think, fellow Taoist?" When the middle-aged stall owner heard this, he glared at him and said, "Not very good. I feel that this thing should be a 5th grade upper grade magic weapon. We can't make a deal with the number you offered. You have no sincerity at all. I think 80,000 lower grade spirit stones is a more appropriate number. It's good to be able to bargain," which proves that the boss really wants to sell it. So Lin Changqing continued, "How about this? Let's each take a step back and take an intermediate number, 50,000 lower grade spirit stones. If possible, let's make a deal now." Upon hearing this, the middle-aged cultivator couldn't help but glare at him and said, "Since it's a middle number, should it be 55,000 lower grade spirit stones? Why did it become 50,000 lower grade spirit stones when it came to you? The rest is for you to eat." Lin Changqing was speechless, but he didn't want to argue with him about the 5,000 spirit stones. Of course, he was also afraid that things would change. So he said directly, "Okay then. I'll listen to you, 55,000 low-grade spirit stones." The middle-aged monk hesitated at this time, worried that he might have made a mistake and let someone else take advantage of it and miss out on the treasure. So he took the token in his hand again, looked at it again, but still found nothing else. Finally, he made up his mind and said, "Okay. I agree, let's make it 55,000 low-grade spirit stones." Lin Changqing was overjoyed, but he didn't dare to show it. He just sped up and paid 550 medium-grade spirit stones to the middle-aged monk. After getting the token from the stall owner, Lin Changqing finally put his mind at ease. Now at this price, he got a halo item, which he could still accept. He put the token back into the storage bag and continued to shop. He knew that the stall owner was still observing him. So he didn't want to arouse the suspicion of the stall owner, so pretending to continue shopping as if nothing had happened was the best choice. Soon he adjusted his mood, just as if nothing had happened. He bought hundreds of spiritual medicines that could continue to be planted at many stalls. He also bought some second-level talisman-making materials, which he prepared to give to his mother as a gift when he returned. It took 2 or 3 hours to finally finish visiting all the stalls. In fact, he also found something later. On a stall selling cubs, Lin Changqing saw a cub of the Earthshaker bear, and there was a relatively dim earth-yellow halo on its body. It proved that this little guy had potential, but Lin Changqing didn't like this kind of bulky and big spiritual beast. This kind of spiritual beast consumes more resources, but after being cultivated to the second level, it may not be able to defeat the amethyst scorpion or the shocking god cicada. So he really looked down on this kind of spiritual beast and always opposed contracting this kind of spiritual beast. Therefore, he did not buy the Earthshaker bear cub, but chose to ignore it and leave. In the crisscrossing alleys, after making several circles, he confirmed that there was no tail behind him, and then returned to the hotel where he lived. In fact, he was already a little impatient, and he was itching to go back and study the token he had just obtained. Fortunately, this time it was smooth. With his cultivation in the middle stage of foundation building, spending tens of thousands of spirit stones in the street stall square was not too eye-catching. Chapter 515, Great Void Transfer Order. So this time, he didn't encounter any mess, but now he didn't want to think about these things. After returning to the hotel room, he checked it twice with his spiritual sense. After finding no problems, he immediately activated the second-order Naxia ray. He directly entered the inner space. Because he just came in last night, Lin Changqing just comforted the three-colored deer a little. After handing over the more than 100 spiritual medicines he had just purchased to Su Miniang and Zhao Liu, he went directly into the courtyard and the room he had reserved. He took out the token he had just received and played with it carefully. The middle-aged stall owner just now said that he couldn't figure out the function of this token. However, Lin Changqing estimated that it should be the stall owner's mana attribute, which did not match the attribute of this token, so he couldn't use it all the time. But when he saw the colorful halo just now, he understood that this thing should be a treasure of the 5 elements or chaos attributes. It just corresponds to his attributes. Of course, this may also be a treasure of space attributes. He has to try it to know the details. Therefore, he began to mobilize his own chaos mana to refine the token, but the process was not too smooth. The difficulty of the sacrifice was quite great. It took almost 2 hours in total to barely refine about 1/10. At this moment, even if he was slow to react, he finally confirmed that this thing was a treasure above the 3rd level. After a short rest, he began to sacrifice and refine again. It took 2 days before and after to completely complete the sacrifice. But it was very strange that according to past experience, after the treasure was completely sacrificed, some information about the treasure would be obtained. But this token was blank, and no information was fed back to him. Lin Changqing pondered for a moment, and immediately had an idea. He began to take out a middle-grade spirit stone to restore the mana consumed in his body. After all the mana was restored, he began to pour it into the token, but this thing was simply a bottomless pit. No matter how much chaos mana he input, he couldn't fill it up, and the token never responded. After trying several times, Lin Changqing couldn't help but want to give up. Because there was no other way, plus the time for refining the token and restoring mana, he had been in the inner space for 2 days. He couldn't stay any longer, otherwise the owner of the hotel would think he was missing, and if he broke into his room to check, it would be troublesome. So, he had to stop fiddling with the token and exit the inner space with the token. But just when he returned to the room, a root suddenly stretched out from the void and touched the token in Lin Changqing's hand. Then a transparent light shield with a radius of about 10 feet appeared on the token, which perfectly enveloped Lin Changqing. Then he received a message from Lin Changqing in his heart. After he interpreted and understood it, he finally understood the function of this token, that is, when traveling long distances through the void, it is used to fight against the turbulence of the void and protect his treasure. This time, Lin Changqing didn't need to think, he knew that this thing was the space token, which is commonly known as the Great Void Transfer Order. This thing is indeed a very rare treasure. But it is basically difficult to see for low-level cultivators. And it will only work when it encounters a certain degree of spatial power. If Lin Changqing hadn't helped, he probably wouldn't have figured it out. No wonder the middle-aged stall owner hadn't figured out its function until now. Fortunately, thanks to Lin Changqing, he finally understood it, so he didn't have to think about it anymore. Although he had Lin Changqing, this thing didn't have any use now, but there was no guarantee that it wouldn't be used in the future, so he still solemnly put away the void transfer token. After packing it up, he closed the second-order breathing formation, then left the room, and stayed in the lobby of the hotel for a while. After confirming that a waiter had seen him, he left the hotel. It should be just afternoon at this time. He found a spiritual food shop at random, rewarded himself with a hearty spiritual food, and then wandered around in the market. He wanted to see if he could encounter a shop like the gambling stone shop. It seemed that he didn't see it last time. Today he just had time, so he could look for it carefully. Unfortunately, he turned around 7 or 8 streets and didn't find what he wanted. In a grocery store, he bought more than 10 sets of wine-making containers and 200 or 300 wine jugs, including 1 gin, 3 gin, and 5 gin. Wine jugs are really consumables. There are not many left from the last purchase, so this time he just replenished some. After asking the owner of the grocery store, he learned that there was a gambling stone shop here a year ago, but because the boss went out once, he never came back. Including the bodyguards, worshippers and other monks who went out with him, they never appeared again. His family was scared, so the gambling stone shop was also closed by his family. Now there is no gambling stone shop in Dongfang City. When Lin Changqing heard this, it turned out to be the case. He was very disappointed. The owner of this gambling stone shop is also an unlucky guy. In this case, it is obvious that he was killed by others, which delayed his fortune. Originally, he had just spent nearly 1 million low-grade spirit stones 2 days ago, and his pockets were a little empty. I wanted to make up for it at the gambling stone shop and get my money back, but I didn't expect that this expectation would be dashed now. In this case, there is no need for Lin Changqing to stay here any longer. You know, he has been staying in the hotel here for 3 days. So he decided to leave Dong'an Market early tomorrow morning and continue to set off for Wanfang Domain. But it's still early now. If he returns to the hotel, he will just practice. It's better to take the opportunity to walk around and see if there are any discoveries that interest him. So he relaxed his mood and walked around. There are still many kinds of shops in the market. But he was not interested in those small shops that were obviously of average strength or opened by small families. There is probably nothing good in this kind of small shop, so he was too lazy to waste time. But after seeing a shop called Yunlingsun, Lin Changqing suddenly became interested and walked in directly. He walked in because the shop covers a large enough area and the name is related to cloud, so he was ready to come in and consult to see if they sell spiritual objects such as Lingai in here. If he wants the Mo Yun Dao in his hand to continue to advance, he needs to devour more spiritual clouds, so he also has to start paying attention to and collecting spiritual clouds. Chapter 516, Encounter at a Trade Fair. As soon as he stepped into Yunlingsun, a young man came up to him and said, "Welcome to our Yunlingsun, what do you need?" Lin Changqing couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. This place was still a lot worse than Wanbao Pavilion. At least when he came, Wanbao Pavilion would invite him into the private room to serve tea. But there was nothing here, but he also understood that not all shops had the strength of Wanbao Pavilion. So he still asked, "I see the name of your shop is Yunlingsun, so do you have high-level spiritual clouds for sale here?" The young man was stunned for a moment, then he immediately reacted and hurriedly explained, "Senior, you misunderstood. Although we are called Yunlingsun, we are not a place that specializes in selling spiritual clouds. We don't have the high-grade spiritual clouds you just mentioned. Instead, we have collected some ordinary 100-year-old white clouds for refining the first-level flying magic weapon Bai Untao. I wonder if the senior needs it." He shook his head. This ordinary 100-year-old white cloud was of no use to Mo Yundao. So when Lin Changqing was about to turn around and leave, the young man said again, "Senior, please wait a moment." Lin Changqing looked at him strangely and asked, "Do you have anything else to do? Can't you leave if you don't buy anything in the store?" The young man smiled and said, "Senior, you are joking. We never have this rule here. I want to ask you, are you interested in participating in a trade fair for foundation building cultivators? The high-level spiritual cloud you are looking for may be found there." When Lin Changqing heard this, he was very interested. He had heard about this kind of trade fair spontaneously organized among cultivators from his grandfather and the clan leader. But he never had the opportunity to participate, mainly because no one introduced it, and it was difficult to know when and where the trade fair would be held. Moreover, this kind of spontaneously organized trade fair also has certain risks. If there is no strong means, it is better not to participate. But Lin Changqing is very confident in his own strength, so he has nothing to be afraid of. So he asked, "Where will the trade fair you mentioned be held? When will it start?" When the young shop assistant heard him ask this, he understood that Lin Changqing was interested and knew that he could earn another 20 spirit stones. So he quickly replied, "This trade fair is organized by our boss himself. It will be held here and will start in about half an hour. It is already known that there are more than 60 cultivators in the middle and late stages of foundation building participating. You should be able to find something that interests you here. However, not everyone can participate in this trade fair. You need to pay a fee of 200 low-grade spirit stones, and you must also ensure that you have a certain level of strength." When Lin Changqing heard this, he felt that he was lucky to have happened to come across this kind of trade fair. The fee of 200 spirit stones was nothing to him. However, he did not understand the additional requirement, so he asked directly, "The cost of 200 spirit stones is no problem. But you said that the monks who participate must guarantee a certain strength. What does that mean?" The young man was overjoyed and explained more respectfully. "It means that the monks who want to participate in the trade fair must have at least 50,000 low-grade spirit stones or spiritual objects of similar value in order to be allowed to participate, so that no one can come in and fish in troubled waters." After the shop assistant said this, Lin Changqing became more interested, so he said directly, "Okay. I understand. I meet all the conditions you mentioned. I want to participate in this trade fair. What should I do?" The shop assistant hurriedly said, "Give me 200 spirit stones, and show me 50,000 spirit stones, or corresponding spiritual objects." Lin Changqing nodded, then threw 2 medium-grade spirit stones to him, and took out 500 medium-grade spirit stones and showed them to him. After that, the shop assistant asked for instructions and brought Lin Changqing a set of spirit-isolating clothes and a jade token. He led him to a long room and asked him to put on the soul-isolating clothes. Then he took him to the backyard, sat in a very spacious hall, and waited for the trade fair to begin. At this time, the shop assistant whispered to Lin Changqing, "Senior, please pay attention to safety. Don't expose your identity here at will. You can leave the trade fair early. When you leave, go to the room just now and leave this soul-isolating clothes. And there are several doors in that room, and you can leave at any one of them. As long as you put this jade card in the corresponding position on the door, after the door is opened once, it will take another half a quarter of an hour before it can be opened again. This time is enough for the senior to leave." After the shop assistant finished speaking, he left the hall. Lin Changqing thought this young man was quite interesting. However, seeing that he was so active just now, he must have benefited from pulling himself to participate in the trade fair, so Lin Changqing did not reward him again. At this time, he had time to look at the environment of the hall. In the middle of the hall, there was a platform half a person's height. Around the platform, there was a large circle of tables and chairs placed in a circle. He scanned with his spiritual sense and found that there were about 100 sets of chairs, and at this time, there were already more than 20 monks sitting on them. Although everyone was wearing the same soul-isolating clothes, some monks obviously knew each other, or came together, and were now chatting there. Lin Changqing didn't know anyone and didn't want to talk to anyone, so he sat there quietly, waiting for the trade fair to start, which was also a way for him to rest. As the start time of the trade fair approached, more and more monks wearing soul-isolating clothes came in and found their own seats. When all the tables and chairs were full, a middle-aged monk who was not wearing soul-isolating clothes came to the edge of the middle platform. Facing everyone, he said, "Thank you all for coming to the trade fair organized by Yun Lingxuan. Most of the Taoists here know me. But there are still some Taoists who are new and don't know me. So let me introduce myself again. I am Su Hian, the owner of Yun Lingxuan. If you have any needs in the future, you can come to Yun Lingxuan to find me privately. I will try my best to help you and make your wishes come true. Okay, let's stop talking nonsense and get straight to the point. Everyone knows the rules of the trade fair, so I won't repeat them. For those Taoists who don't know, just wait and see how others do it, and you will understand. As the person who organizes the trade fair, I will be the first to throw out some ideas." Chapter 517, Flame Wutong Spirit Seed. After that, he took out a small jade box and opened it directly. After showing it to all directions, he put the jade box on the stage. Then he said, "This is the Three Tribulations Golden Life Pill. The effect is that no matter how much damage you suffer, as long as you don't die on the spot. After taking the Three Tribulations life-extending pill, you can ensure that the injury will not worsen, and you can buy yourself at least 3 months of healing time. This kind of life-saving pill is a rare item on the market. It is basically impossible for it to fall into the hands of ordinary cultivators." At this point, the cultivators around were a little excited. Many people showed interest in this pill, and many people below were already whispering. Su Zian was very proud and continued, "Okay, I know everyone is interested, but be quiet and listen to me. According to the seller's commission, this pill will not be sold, and it will only be exchanged for pills that can treat the soul of a cultivator in the foundation building period, or spiritual medicine. Of course, any natural treasure that can treat the soul is also fine. In this case, the seller will also compensate you for part of the difference. That's the situation. Are there any Taoist friends who meet the conditions and are interested?" Lin Changqing was still very interested when he heard this. Zhao Mingshi especially gave one of this kind of pill to him and Chen Ziya, specifically for them to use to save their lives. It's still in the storage bag now, but no one would think it's too much. Even if you don't use it yourself, it's good to leave it to your family. But he hasn't figured out what to exchange it with, and the voice of quotation has already sounded outside. "I have 3 second-level jade soul pills here, which are enough to treat ordinary second-level soul injuries. I wonder what fellow Taoist Su thinks." As soon as he finished speaking, another voice rang out. "I have a 3rd-level earth soul pill in my hand. It uses the 3rd-level earth soul fruit as the main ingredient. Although it is not a special pill for treating the soul, it is definitely more than enough to treat the 2nd-level injuries with a 3rd-level soul-improving pill. It may even have a little improvement effect on the soul. I think it should be my 3rd-level pill, which is more in line with the requirements of fellow Taoist Su." As soon as these 2 bids came out, no one else at the scene spoke. "If you bid more than these 2, you will have a chance to win." Lin Changqing also felt that it was not cost-effective. He couldn't exchange it for a whole earth soul fruit. The grade of the 100 flowers soul intoxicating wine was too high, and it was even more inappropriate. The only thing he was willing to give up was the soul liquid produced by the Black Soul sect. He didn't dare to use it himself, and he forgot to give it to Lin Changqing, so it was still in the storage bag. But he was afraid that the characteristics of this thing were too obvious, and it would be recognized by someone with ulterior motives, causing unnecessary trouble. So after hesitating for a while, he still didn't bid. At this time, Su Zian saw that no one had made an offer, so he signaled the 2 monks to be patient. He took out a conch shell, said 2 words to it, and waited for a reply. Then he said to the 2 bidders, "Congratulations, fellow Taoists. The sellers feel that your items are suitable, so they all agree. Now we can trade." After that, he took out another identical small jade box and placed it on the table. Hearing that the seller agreed, the 2 bidders were also very happy. They went to the stage and completed the transaction. After Su Zian put the items away, he said again, "I have completed my attempt to attract jade. Next, please invite the guest holding the number 1 jade card to come on stage." After that, he left the stage. Next, the monk holding the number 1 jade card came on stage. Lin Changqing had just seen that his jade card was number 86, so it was still a long way to go before it was his turn. However, from the number 1 jade card to the number 25 at the back, they were all looking to buy or sell something. But they were all quite ordinary, and Lin Changqing didn't see anything that made him excited. Finally, when the monk holding the number 26 jade card came on stage, he immediately took out a jade box as soon as he arrived in the middle of the hall, opened it and showed it to everyone. The things inside made Lin Changqing very excited. It was a seed as big as a fist, with a black background and red texture. The monks who didn't know thought it was a spirit beast egg, but Lin Changqing knew that it was most likely the seed of the flame wutong tree. That is, the flame wutong tree that can attract a legendary beast fire phoenix. The most important thing is that in his eyes, this seed also emitted a green and red halo. Indirectly proved that it is a spiritual plant with wood and fire attributes. That's right. And it must have extraordinary qualifications. The flame wutong tree itself is also a very precious high-level spiritual plant. Although it is not a spiritual root of heaven and earth, it will definitely be useful in the future. In addition, there are 3 people in the family, Grandfather and aunt are wood attributes, and sister is fire attribute. Maybe it will be used. Especially for his younger sister, the technique she was practicing, Fire Phoenix Nirvana Sutra, was more or less related to the flame Wutong. So Lin Changqing had already decided that he would take it down by any means necessary, even if it meant revealing some of his own trump cards. At this time, the monk holding the number 26 jade card said, "A high-level spiritual seed with both wood and fire attributes." After looking up the information myself, I guessed that it might be a species of the flame Paulownia tree, but my knowledge is limited and I can't confirm it. But it doesn't matter, it is at least a high-level spiritual seed, and this spiritual seed is active. It can definitely break the shell normally, take root and sprout. As for the value of high-level spiritual plants, I won't repeat it, everyone knows it. Now I will use it as a price to purchase an earth-based technique that can be cultivated to the golden core stage at least. As for those common techniques on the market, don't take them out, it will only waste everyone's time. I require the technique to be at least earth grade, and it must also have the corresponding method of refining magic weapons, which meets my requirements. As soon as the monk on the stage finished speaking, Lin Changqing's mind moved, and a jade slip appeared in his hand, and he began to write a few prohibitions on it. He immediately said, "I just happen to have a ground-level earth-level technique that meets your requirements. I won't tell you the name. You can find out by yourself. But it may exceed your requirements. You can take a look first. For the value that exceeds your requirements, you can give me some compensation appropriately." After that, Lin Changqing walked up and handed the technique jade slip to the cultivator on the stage. The cultivator on the stage nodded and took it, and began to read it. The 5 words Jiufeng Thick Earth Sutra came into view. It was the core inherited technique of the Li family of Jiufeng Mountain. The predecessor of this technique was the 9 Mountains Thick Earth Sutra of Qingyuan sect. Chapter 518, Heart-Searching Pill. According to the records in the jade slip, it can be cultivated to the highest level of golden elixir grade perfection, and it comes with 9 corresponding magic weapon refining methods, which completely exceeds the requirements of that cultivator. He had already placed a ban on the jade slip, and only opened the total steel part to that cultivator. He believed that he would make the right choice. And cultivator number 26 took a short time to finish reading the total steel. To be honest, he was quite satisfied. However, he still asked, "Does anyone want to exchange?" After that, 3 more cultivators took the jade slips and walked onto the stage. Lin Changqing could only take his jade slip back first and return to his seat to wait. Soon, he finished reading the 3 jade slips, and he asked again, "Does anyone want to exchange?" Unfortunately, this time, no one came up. So after weighing the pros and cons in his mind, the number 26 monk said to Lin Changqing, "I am still quite satisfied with the cultivation method in your hand. As for the part that exceeds the requirements, I will compensate with 50,000 low-grade spirit stones. What do you think?" Lin Changqing nodded and agreed directly. In fact, he didn't mind too much. He just mentioned the compensation for the part that exceeded the requirements. In order to let the number 26 monk know how valuable the cultivation method he took out is, so that he can improve his competitiveness. He immediately went on stage and exchanged the spirit seeds of the flame phoenix tree and 50,000 low-grade spirit stones with a jade slip that had been unlocked in his hand. After personally confirming that there was no problem with the spirit seeds, he returned to his seat as if nothing had happened. He didn't want to show too much excitement, so after confirming that there was no problem with the things, he put them back into the storage bag. He would take a look at them slowly after he went back. Most of the things that the next dozens of monks wanted to buy or took out were relatively ordinary. Although there were a few items that Lin Changqing thought were not bad, he also quoted several times, but none of them were successful. And now, there are only 50 or 60 monks left in the hall. Many monks who exchanged for suitable spiritual objects chose to leave immediately for safety, so the number of people here is getting smaller and smaller. Until it was Lin Changqing's turn to go on stage. Fortunately, he had already thought about what to do, so he said to the rest of the people, "I am looking for 2nd and 3rd level spiritual medicines or spiritual seeds at a price 10% higher than the market price. Of course, if there are very rare 1st level spiritual seeds, you can also take them out for a look. I will use spiritual stones, or spiritual tools, and elixirs as rewards. Taoists who have these things can come up and learn about them." After speaking, he placed more than a dozen 2nd-level high-quality spiritual tools on the stage, and 20 or 30 bottles of elixirs for the middle and late stages of foundation building and advanced cultivation. As soon as he finished speaking, people came up with things one after another to trade with Lin Changqing. The transaction time was only about a quarter of an hour, but the harvest was not bad, although no third-level spiritual medicines or spiritual seeds were received. But he received more than a dozen second-level spiritual medicines that can be planted again, and 3 relatively precious second-level spiritual seeds. Among them are Gizan flower, Huongxin flower, and Langxin shigu grass. Among them, Gizan flower is one of the 3 main ingredients of Sanrigixi pill. Its function is that after taking it, the whole body's breath is tightly sealed inside the body, and there is no pulse at all. It looks like the breath is cut off. It can maintain suspended animation for 3 days. It is a kind of strange medicine. Huongxin flower has a stronger hallucinogenic effect. The monks who smell the fragrance of the flower will feel relaxed and happy, and indulge in the illusion they weave and don't want to wake up. Therefore, this kind of Huongxin flower is mostly used to refine the second-level Langxin pill, also called the questioning heart pill. The remaining Langxin shigu grass is a kind of orchid grass containing bone-eroding poison. Lin Changqing didn't want to collect it at first. He was worried that if it was planted in the inner space, the monks and spirit beasts inside would be accidentally poisoned. But then he thought about it and realized that he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't need it in the future, so he traded it. However, he decided to surround it with a magic circle, so it shouldn't be too dangerous. In the end, he also got an extra 24 second-level golden wire vine spirit seeds. This kind of spirit vine is particularly tough and can even be compared to a spiritual weapon. He feels that this golden wire vine, combined with the entanglement technique, must be a very powerful combination. But the spirit seeds used to perform the entanglement technique are all disposable. So he plans to plant half of these 24 spirit seeds and keep half, and give some to his aunt as a gift when he sees her. With these gains today, Lin Changqing is already very satisfied, so he doesn't plan to stay until the end. After no one came up to trade, he packed up the things on the table and left the hall directly. Returning to the room just now, leaving behind the spirit isolating clothes on his body, and opening the door with a J token, he left smoothly. After walking around the market twice and confirming that there was no tail following him, he returned to the hotel. The whole process was much smoother than he imagined, and most importantly, the worst situation he expected did not happen. After checking the room and activating the magic circle, he took out all the things he had harvested this time. After checking one by one, he confirmed that everything was clean and no one had left marks on it. So he took out the spiritual seeds of the flame wutong and the orchid heartbone eroding grass separately, and put the others into a storage bag. He took the spiritual seeds of the flame wutong with the black background and red lines in his hand and carefully checked and played with them. This was his biggest harvest today. But now Lin Changqing was a little hesitant, because he didn't know whether he should keep it first, or should he plant it directly in the inner space? Such a precious spiritual seed, once planted, it would not be so easy to find another one in a short time. But after thinking about it, he finally decided to plant it directly. There is no safer place than the inner space. At worst, let Zhao Linyu take care of it in the future, and try to let it grow and bear seeds as soon as possible, so that the family can use it in the future. After deciding, holding the 2 special spiritual seeds in his hand, he went directly into the inner space and summoned Zhao Linyu as soon as possible. He handed the 2 special spiritual seeds to her and told her their harmfulness. He also instructed that the task of inducing birth should be given to Lu Yaoqiang in the future, and other deer should not be allowed to approach them casually. Then the 2 of them discussed the planting location and decided to plant the orchid heartbone eroding grass at the edge of the inner space and surround it with a second-level defense array. And in the future, any spiritual medicines and spiritual herbs containing highly toxic substances should be planted within this area. Chapter 519 Unexpected Disaster. As for the flame phoenix tree, it cannot be planted together with ordinary spiritual medicines and spiritual plants, otherwise they will be sucked dry. So it was decided to plant it on the edge of the other side of the inner space. There is no need to arrange the magic circle for this kind of temporary non-dangerous. After finishing both sides, Lin Changqing took out the ordinary spiritual medicines and spiritual seeds that he had just harvested and asked Zhao Linyu to continue processing. He played with the deer for a while and then exited the inner space. Lin Changqing plans to complete the cultivation task early today and have a good night's rest. Because early tomorrow morning, He will set off to the next destination. One night passed in a blink of an eye. The next day, Lin Changqing completed his cultivation and went to check out. After taking back some deposit, he left the market directly. The next destination he planned for himself was a spiritual stone vein site. You must know that all the spiritual stone mines on the mainland are jointly controlled by the major sects. Of course, there are also cultivators who have discovered and mined privately, but you must ensure that no news leaks out, otherwise the end result will be that no one will be left alive. However, although the Lingxi mine was jointly controlled by the big sects, they did not mine it themselves, but recruited many independent cultivators to go down to mine. And they adopted the method of more work, more pay, encouraging independent cultivators to work hard to collect more Lingxi ore, which also made them earn cultivation resources. But the Lingxi mine site that Lin Changqing was going to had been mined, and those big sects had also given up control of it. Now the mine site has become a no man's land, and there are often independent cultivators who go down to the mine to try their luck. Of course, no man's land represents chaos, so killing and being killed here are all very common. But Lin Changqing is confident in his own strength, and this is what he is least afraid of. When he saw the ruins of the Lingxi mine on the map provided by Chen Zilia, he had already made up his mind that for Lin Changliu, he must go and see it. The ruins are in the Dongling Mountains, between the outer and inner perimeters. Looking at the map, the mine is large in scale, and there was even a very large market next to it. But since the mine was mined, the number of cultivators has gradually decreased, and many merchants have also withdrawn one after another. The scale of the market may be only 1/10 of what it was before. Lin Changqing calculated the distance on the map and knew that it would take about half a month to get there. And because he had to go into the mountains, it might take more time, but this was not difficult for Lin Changqing. After identifying the direction, he first controlled the flying sword and flew out about 20 miles, then released the first and second days, and changed to the Moandao, and began to travel leisurely. But it was boring to lie on the auspicious clouds all the time, so he made himself a pot of green jade tea, and then began to practice magic. In a blink of an eye, 2 or 3 hours passed, and the first day of the sky sent an early warning that someone was fighting about 10 miles ahead. Lin Changqing thought about it and decided not to participate. So he moved his mind and slightly adjusted the direction to avoid the range of the fight in front. The distance of more than 10 miles was passed in a flash, but Lin Changqing didn't want to intervene, but it didn't mean that others didn't want to drag him into the water. Just after receiving the early warning that someone was approaching quickly on the first day of the first month, the voice of a male cultivator came from behind. "Fellow Taoist in front, help us. There are 3 robber cultivators chasing us from behind. Please join us to fight the enemy. We will reward you handsomely afterwards." Another female cultivator also shouted, "Fellow Taoist in front, please help us. We will give you 100,000 low-grade spirit stones as a reward afterwards." Lin Changqing stood up and looked at the 2 groups of people behind him. The closest to him was a man and a woman, who were now about 300 feet behind Mo Yundao. There were 3 robbery cultivators farther away, still 600 to 700 feet away from him. However, at this time, the flying swords of the 2 sides behind were fighting back and forth. However, the man and woman were obviously at a disadvantage, so they desperately approached Lin Changqing, trying to pull him into the water and fight against the robbery cultivators behind. This is what Lin Changqing hates the most. He obviously doesn't want to cause trouble, but trouble still comes to him. But he still doesn't want to intervene casually, so he raised his hand and 2 big fireballs flew towards the man and woman. It exploded 10 feet in front of the 2 men, and then shouted, "Get out of here. I don't want to get involved in your affairs. This is a warning. If you come closer, I will not be polite." After that, it adjusted back to the direction just now. The 2 people behind were very anxious, and the female cultivator hurriedly shouted again, "Dao Yao, please help us no matter what. We are both members of the Zhao family nearby. We will reward you with 200,000 spirit stones afterwards, and you can also get the Zhao family's favor." Lin Changqing rolled his eyes and said unhappily, "What favor? I'm not interested. Get out of here quickly. If you follow me again, I will really take action." After that, they continued to follow, and Lin Changqing raised his hand, and 10 big fireballs flew out in a straight line. This time, they did not detonate in advance, and flew directly towards them. However, the distance of 200 or 300 feet, plus the speed of the fireball technique was not fast, still gave them time to dodge. But the two of them still understood Lin Changqing's determination, and did not dare to continue to follow him, but slightly adjusted the direction. Seeing that they were so sensible, Lin Changqing stopped attacking and adjusted his direction to distance himself from them. Then he ignored the two groups and left quickly, thinking that the matter was over. Unexpectedly, 2 hours later, Chuai suddenly issued a very urgent warning, meaning that a high-level cultivator was approaching quickly. Lin Changqing didn't know if it was coming for him. So he immediately ordered Chuai and Shuer to rise rapidly, while he himself lowered the altitude and fell to the ground in the woods. When necessary, he could use the ground walking technique to leave. Of course, landing also meant to avoid high-level cultivators. But when he landed and just stood firm, a strong pressure enveloped Lin Changqing. Soon two figures appeared not far in front of him. Lin Changqing quickly glanced at them, and one of them was the female cultivator who had just asked Lin Changqing to take action. The other was a middle-aged male cultivator, but his cultivation was very high, and he should be in the Purple Mansion period. Because Lin Changqing had seen the pressure of a Jinden's Henren, this middle-aged male cultivator did not give him that feeling. And his cultivation is much higher than Lin Changqing's, so he is obviously a cultivator in the Purple Mansion stage. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 520 Unexpected Disaster. As for the Flame Phoenix tree, it cannot be planted together with ordinary spiritual medicines and spiritual plants, otherwise they will be sucked dry. So it was decided to plant it on the edge of the other side of the inner space. There is no need to arrange the magic circle for this kind of temporary non-dangerous. After finishing both sides, Lin Changqing took out the ordinary spiritual medicines and spiritual seeds that he had just harvested and asked Zhao Linyu to continue processing. He played with the deer for a while and then exited the inner space. Lin Changqing plans to complete the cultivation task early today and have a good night's rest. Because early tomorrow morning, he will set off to the next destination. One night passed in a blink of an eye. The next day, Lin Changqing completed his cultivation and went to check out. After taking back some deposit, he left the market directly. The next destination he planned for himself was a spiritual stone vein site. You must know that all the spiritual stone mines on the mainland are jointly controlled by the major sects. Of course, there are also cultivators who have discovered and mined privately, but you must ensure that no news leaks out, otherwise the end result will be that no one will be left alive. However, although the Lingxi mine was jointly controlled by the big sects, they did not mine it themselves, but recruited many independent cultivators to go down to mine. And they adopted the method of more work, more pay, encouraging independent cultivators to work hard to collect more Lingxi ore, which also made them earn cultivation resources. But the Lingxi mine site that Lin Changqing was going to had been mined, and those big sects had also given up control of it. Now the mine site has become a no man's land, and there are often independent cultivators who go down to the mine to try their luck. Of course, no man's land represents chaos, so killing and being killed here are all very common. But Lin Changqing is confident in his own strength, and this is what he is least afraid of. When he saw the ruins of the Lingxi mine on the map provided by Chen Zilia, he had already made up his mind that for Lin Changliu, he must go and see it. The ruins are in the Dongling Mountains, between the outer and inner perimeters. Looking at the map, the mine is large in scale, and there was even a very large market next to it. But since the mine was mined, the number of cultivators has gradually decreased, and many merchants have also withdrawn one after another. The scale of the market may be only 1/10 of what it was before. Lin Changqing calculated the distance on the map and knew that it would take about half a month to get there. And because he had to go into the mountains, it might take more time, but this was not difficult for Lin Changqing. After identifying the direction, he first controlled the flying sword and flew out about 20 miles, then released the first and second days, and changed to the Moan Dao, and began to travel leisurely. But it was boring to lie on the auspicious clouds all the time, so he made himself a pot of green jade tea, and then began to practice magic. In a blink of an eye, 2 or 3 hours passed, and the first day of the sky sent an early warning that someone was fighting about 10 miles ahead. Lin Changqing thought about it and decided not to participate. So he moved his mind and slightly adjusted the direction to avoid the range of the fight in front. The distance of more than 10 miles was passed in a flash, but Lin Changqing didn't want to intervene, but it didn't mean that others didn't want to drag him into the water. Just after receiving the early warning that someone was approaching quickly on the first day of the first month, the voice of a male cultivator came from behind. "Fellow Taoist in front, help us. There are 3 robber cultivators chasing us from behind. Please join us to fight the enemy. We will reward you handsomely afterwards." Another female cultivator also shouted, "Fellow Taoist in front, please help us. We will give you 100,000 low-grade spirit stones as a reward afterwards." Lin Changqing stood up and looked at the 2 groups of people behind him. The closest to him was a man and a woman, who were now about 300 feet behind Mo Yundao. There were 3 robbery cultivators farther away, still 600 to 700 feet away from him. However, at this time, the flying swords of the 2 sides behind were fighting back and forth. However, the man and woman were obviously at a disadvantage, so they desperately approached Lin Changqing, trying to pull him into the water and fight against the robbery cultivators behind. This is what Lin Changqing hates the most. He obviously doesn't want to cause trouble, but trouble still comes to him. But he still doesn't want to intervene casually, so he raised his hand and 2 big fireballs flew towards the man and woman. It exploded 10 feet in front of the 2 men, and then shouted, "Get out of here. I don't want to get involved in your affairs. This is a warning. If you come closer, I will not be polite." After that, it adjusted back to the direction just now. The 2 people behind were very anxious, and the female cultivator hurriedly shouted again, "Dao Yao, please help us no matter what. We are both members of the Zhao family nearby. We will reward you with 200,000 spirit stones afterwards, and you can also get the Zhao family's favor." Lin Changqing rolled his eyes and said unhappily, "What favor? I'm not interested. Get out of here quickly. If you follow me again, I will really take action." After that, they continued to follow, and Lin Changqing raised his hand, and 10 big fireballs flew out in a straight line. This time, they did not detonate in advance, and flew directly towards them. However, the distance of 200 or 300 feet, plus the speed of the fireball technique was not fast, still gave them time to dodge. But the 2 of them still understood Lin Changqing's determination, and did not dare to continue to follow him, but slightly adjusted the direction. Seeing that they were so sensible, Lin Changqing stopped attacking and adjusted his direction to distance himself from them. Then he ignored the 2 groups and left quickly, thinking that the matter was over. Unexpectedly, 2 hours later, Chui suddenly issued a very urgent warning, meaning that a high-level cultivator was approaching quickly. Lin Changqing didn't know if it was coming for him. So he immediately ordered Chui and Shuer to rise rapidly, while he himself lowered the altitude and fell to the ground in the woods. When necessary, he could use the ground walking technique to leave. Of course, landing also meant to avoid high-level cultivators. But when he landed and just stood firm, a strong pressure enveloped Lin Changqing. Soon 2 figures appeared not far in front of him. Lin Changqing quickly glanced at them, and one of them was the female cultivator who had just asked Lin Changqing to take action. The other was a middle-aged male cultivator, but his cultivation was very high, and he should be in the Purple Mansion period. Because Lin Changqing had seen the pressure of a Jinden's Henren, this middle-aged male cultivator did not give him that feeling. And his cultivation is much higher than Lin Changqing's, so he is obviously a cultivator in the Purple Mansion stage. Chapter 521, Enhanced Version of Palm Thunder. But at this time, the female cultivator spoke up, her eyes red, and she said in a sad voice, "Third uncle, it's him, it's this person who didn't save the dying. He also looked down on our Zhao family and caused Brother Sheng to die tragically at the hands of those 3 robbers. You must avenge Brother Sheng." Lin Changqing was speechless. This was really an unprovoked disaster. He didn't want to get involved in their affairs, but he got into trouble. But he was not afraid. If they really wanted to do it, it was not certain who would win. But he had already started to prepare secretly. So he said neither humbly nor arrogantly, "Meet this senior, I wonder what you 2 want to stop me for." The female cultivator shouted again, "Are you blind or deaf? Of course we are here to settle accounts with you. I want you to compensate for my brother Sheng's life." Lin Changqing didn't want to pay attention to this crazy woman, and looked straight at the middle-aged cultivator. Unexpectedly, his performance was seen by the middle-aged cultivator. At this time, the middle-aged cultivator was also weighing it quickly in his heart. Because Lin Changqing's calm performance showed that he had confidence in his heart. He guessed that this person either had a very powerful background, so powerful that he was not afraid of the Zhao family, and so powerful that he did not dare to touch him. Another possibility was that this junior had something to rely on and was not afraid of him, a purple mansion cultivator. After thinking so much, he did not act immediately. Instead, he said, I am Zhao Zhengbing, the Zhao family. I don't know how to address this young friend. Which high-ranking sect are you from? Seeing that he finally spoke, Lin Changqing also answered, Hello, Senior Zhao. I am Zhang Dejin, a disciple of Qingyuan sect of Jian Mountain. I wonder what happened when Senior Zhao stopped me. Zhao Zhengbing had a headache when he heard this. Jian Mountain was not far from here. If he flew at full speed, he could reach there in 2 days. The same is true in reverse. As long as the high-level cultivators of Qingyuan sect knew the specific location, they could find the Zhao family's clan land in 2 days. So after weighing it over, he still asked, why did you just watch someone die without helping him, and also look down on my Zhao family? Lin Changqing smiled secretly in his heart, and after looking at him, he said, Senior Zhao, you misunderstood. It's not that I didn't help him, but because I know that my cultivation is low and I dare not take action. And those robbery cultivators are all cultivators in the middle and late stages of the foundation building period. How dare I intervene in the fight at will, and I am afraid of getting into trouble, so I want to leave quickly. It's not that I don't want to save people, but my strength doesn't allow it. Instead of the three of us dying together, it's better for me to keep a useful body. When I see the Zhao family in the future, I will help them pass on the news. Maybe I can even help them get revenge. As for looking down on the Zhao family, that's even more impossible. I can't even beat a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building, so how dare I look down on the Zhao family with purple mansion cultivators? Isn't this simply ridiculous? So Senior Zhao, please understand my difficulties. After hearing Lin Changqing's explanation, the female cultivator almost got angry. And Zhao Zhengbing also felt that this guy named Zhang Dejin was not afraid of him, and was even teasing him faintly. This made him furious. Being teased by a junior, no matter how well educated he was, he couldn't hold it back. So he said directly, I know, but a younger member of my Zhao family died because of your inaction. You are a junior, so I won't make things difficult for you. I will invite you to the Zhao family as a guest for a while. If you have anything to say, wait until your elders come and talk about it. When Lin Changqing heard this, he immediately shook his head and said, that won't work. The junior has urgent matters to attend to, so he can't go to the Zhao family as a guest. Besides, it was Gxiu who killed him. What does it have to do with me? If you want to blame someone, you can only blame him. He was killed because he didn't practice well enough. People like this who are not good at cultivation and don't know their own strength to come out and show off in the city deserve to die, but you can't blame me. When Zhao Zhengbing heard this, he was so angry that his eyes turned red, and he shouted directly, Junior deserves to die. After that, he angrily slapped Lin Changqing with a palm, and a 1-foot-sized palm print attacked him at a high speed. Fortunately, when Lin Changqing said that, he was ready. With a flip of his hand, a palm thunder with special ingredients also shot out. Although this is the palm thunder method, it is filled with special mana compressed from the magical seed of the Great Five Elements Gixia technique. The target is Zhao Zhengbing, and 99% of the chaotic mana in his body is compressed into this attack. The Denshin is empty, and after that, he only has the thunder mana in the 98 thunder acupoints. Sure enough, the speed of the thunder method is fast, and it arrives first after the last one. A low and muffled thunder exploded in front of Zhao Zhengbing. The 3 layers of defense activated by the top-grade defensive spiritual weapon on his waist were immediately broken. And the 3rd-level golden silk soft armor he was wearing only resisted a little. Then a fist-sized hole was annihilated at the front of the heart, and the same result was achieved at the same position of Zhao Zhengbing's body. As for Lin Changqing, because the distance was too close, he couldn't avoid it, so he could only activate all his defenses. Not to mention, it's convenient to have the defensive spiritual weapon in the thunder acupoints, and his mind moved. All kinds of lightning shields, 6 lightning mirrors, and other defensive means were used, with a total of more than 10 layers of defense. After and during the angry attack of the Purple Mansion cultivator, half of these defenses were broken, but the person was fine. Everything happened too fast. In just 1 or 2 breaths, the victory and defeat, life and death were decided. The female cultivator was so fast that she couldn't react. Zhao Zhengbing himself couldn't believe that he would die here. He was now holding on to his breath. Looking at the big hole in his chest, he sensed the energy in his body that was annihilating everything. He only had time to say one word to the female cultivator, "Run," but as soon as the breath was broken, he immediately fell to the ground and died. The female cultivator, as if waking up from a dream, immediately hurriedly urged the flying sword and flew towards the woods at a high speed. He wanted to escape to heaven under the cover of the woods, but Lin Changqing was not unprepared. He knew that he only had the ability to strike once, so before he made his move, he had already communicated with Lin Changqing in his heart and asked him to help with the finishing work. And Zhao Zhengbing, who thought he was a senior expert, looked down on Lin Changqing at first. He didn't know anything at all, but dared to stand more than 10 feet away from him. At such a close distance, he would definitely not be able to escape from Lin Changqing's palm. Chapter 522, Aftermath. That's why he took the risk. He also wanted to take this opportunity to try out the performance of the Great Five Elements Giksa technique in actual combat and see how powerful it is. He was quite satisfied with the result, although it was a bit unexpected, and Zhao Zhengbing did not release the third-level defensive magic weapon. But he was still satisfied that he could kill with one blow. As for the Zhao family female cultivator, she couldn't run away at all, and Lin Changqing didn't need to do it. With a thud, dozens of second-level purple crystal scorpions immediately flew out of the spirit beast bracelet. They chased in the direction of her escape. Not long after a shrill scream came from the distance, he knew that everything was over. Although Lin Changqing felt that his mana was empty now, this place still belonged to the Zhao family. So he didn't dare to gamble. The Zhao family's reaction speed dared not delay at all. After confirming that Zhao Zhengbing had completely died, Lin Changqing immediately rushed over and collected all the things on him. Including his body and the blood scattered on the ground around him, they were all received in an empty storage bag. After cleaning up the places where traces might be left, and making sure there were no problems, he found the body of the female cultivator. He cleaned it up in the same way, but he found 7 or 8 storage bags on her body. It is impossible to carry so many storage bags on your body, unless you want to transport something. But Lin Changqing guessed that the 3 robber cultivators just now had been killed by Zhao Zhengbing, so there were so many storage bags. I don't know how those robber cultivators could be so bold as to kill the Zhao family members near the Zhao family's territory. But Lin Changqing did the same thing as them, so I won't talk about the second brother. Now the problem is, I don't know how strong the Zhao family is. Will it be like poking a hornet's nest, and a lot of purple mansions and even golden elixir stage cultivators will fly out at once? After thinking about it, for the sake of safety, I decided that some things should not be carried on my body, which is too annoying. So I went in and out of the inner space quickly on the spot, leaving most of my things in the inner space. Only some spiritual stones, elixirs, and a few spiritual tools were left on him. After some consideration, he decided to wear the spiritual beast bracelet on his hand. The purple crystal scorpion and the startling cicada were still inside. He swallowed another second-level soul-restoring pill and held a few medium-grade spiritual stones in his hand to quickly restore the empty mana in his danshin. Then he used his mind to do 2 things at once. A second-level high-grade flying sword appeared under his feet and began to fly towards the Dongling Mountains. He believed that even if the Zhao family reacted quickly, it would take at least 1 or 2 hours. With this time difference, he might have already flown out of the Zhao family's sphere of influence. So he still looked unhurried. After all, he was alone, and he was only in the middle stage of foundation building. In the eyes of others, it was impossible to surpass a major level and kill a purple mansion cultivator. Therefore, he also figured it out and just kept dealing with it normally. If he was too nervous, it would be easy to reveal flaws. So he flew for about 2 hours, and the sky began to darken. However, Lin Changqing decided to travel for another half an hour and find a suitable place to camp. At this time, the Zhao family had actually discovered that the soul tablets of Zhao Zhengbing, one of the 3 purple mansion cultivators in the family, and 2 younger clansmen in the middle and late stages of foundation building, were all broken at about the same time. Now the remaining 2 purple mansion cultivators of the Zhao family are urgently summoning the core elders of the family to discuss how to deal with it. In the end, it was concluded that the most likely person who could kill Zhao Zhengbing, who had the cultivation level of the 3rd level of purple mansion, was a cultivator with a cultivation level of more than the middle and late stages of purple mansion. It is very likely that the number of people who took action was more than 1 person, estimated to be about 2 to 3 people. In other words, with the current strength of their Zhao family, it would be too dangerous to go out and search separately, and they might be defeated one by one. If they must go out to find a murderer, it is better for the two Purple Mansion cultivators of the Zhao family to act together. Bring along the family's most powerful clansmen, more than a dozen clansmen in the late stages of foundation building, so that it is safer. After the discussion, they did not waste time because it was getting dark. One of the Purple Mansion cultivators of the Zhao family released a third-order treasure boat, and took 16 clansmen in the late stage of foundation building, and quickly left the Zhao family's clan land and rushed to the place where Zhao's Henbing had an accident. After they left, the Zhao family immediately opened the mountain guarding formation and sent hundreds of foundation building cultivators to enter the formation to be on guard. At this time, Lin Changqing had already left there for more than 800 miles, and chose a hidden place to set up a formation and camp to rest. However, the purple crystal scorpion and the shocking cicada were not released for alert. He was here to wait for the cultivators of the Zhao family to come. So it was inconvenient to release the two kinds of spirit insects. With Lin Changqing by his side, he was not afraid of anything as long as the person who came was not a giant in Tenrun. A distance of more than 800 miles only took about 3/4 of an hour for the Purple Mansion cultivators, plus the time spent on investigating the place where the accident happened. So an hour and a half later, a treasure boat landed not far from Lin Changqing's camp. Then a middle-aged male voice came over, "Taoist friends inside the magic circle, can you come out and see me?" Lin Changqing's heart moved. Sure enough, they came, just as he expected, but he didn't know how strong these monks were. So he stretched out his hand and cast a magic formula, controlling the second-order breathing formation, which was semi-transparent, so that the monks outside could roughly see the situation inside the magic circle. He opened a gap in the magic circle again, and then said, "Taoist friends outside, is there anything? I won't leave the magic circle. There are so many of you, it's not convenient for me to leave the magic circle. If you have anything, just say it directly." Then, Lin Changqing felt that several powerful divine senses swept over him and the inside of the magic circle. Being scanned by someone so unscrupulously with divine sense made him very unhappy, but everyone was in the treasure boat, and he didn't know the specific situation inside. So he didn't dare to act rashly. If there was a giant in Henren sitting inside, he would be finished. Then the voice spoke again, "We are cultivators from the nearby Zhao family. Recently, several robbery cultivators have appeared in this area, and several people have been killed. So fellow Taoist, you must pay attention to your safety if you are alone. I wonder if this fellow Taoist has any companions? Where did you come from, and where are you going?" Chapter 523 Kaiden Market. Lin Changqing suppressed his unhappy mood, knowing that the Zhao family cultivator was trying to get information from him, but there was nothing he couldn't say. So he answered, "I have no companions, I am alone. I came from Donggan Market, and I plan to try my luck at the ruins of the Lingxi mine in the Dongling Mountains. Is there anything I can do for you?" After hearing this, the people on the treasure boat did not immediately answer Lin Changqing's question, but another older voice said, "Don't be nervous, my friend. It's nothing big. I just want to ask, did you encounter anything special on your way here from Donggan Market today? For example, the fluctuations of the battle, or saw high-level monks passing by?" Lin Changqing pretended to think for a while before saying, "I'm sorry, senior. My cultivation is low, and I don't want to get involved in any trouble. So when I encounter such things, I usually stay away from them to avoid getting into trouble. As for what the senior said about the fluctuations of the battle and the high-level monks passing by, my cultivation is low, and I was so focused on my journey that I didn't notice it." After listening to Lin Changqing's words, there was another silence on the treasure boat. He guessed that they should be discussing something. In fact, he was not wrong. There are two opinions now. One is to arrest Lin Changqing and torture him. The other is that Lin Changqing's cultivation is low and he must have nothing to do with what happened this time. If he had a connection, he would have found a place to hide long ago, and he would not dare to stay here openly. Moreover, the Zhao family is in a dangerous state now. It is not suitable to recruit enemies everywhere. They should try to get through the crisis smoothly first. Fortunately, it was Zhao's Henghong, the Purple Mansion period patriarch of the Zhao family, who made the final decision not to arrest Lin Changqing. Little did they know that this decision actually saved the Zhao family from the crisis of destruction. After a while, 2 medium-grade spirit stones flew out of the treasure boat and fell into Lin Changqing's hands. Then the voice spoke again, "Excuse me, my friend. This is the reward for the consultation. If you find anything else suspicious, you can go to Jinyang Mountain and let me know. You can get a reward of up to 100,000 low-grade spirit stones." After hearing this, Lin Changqing realized that it was a cultivator from the Zhao family in Jinyang Mountain, but he was not that stupid. If he really went there, it would really be someone else's territory. At that time, whether he could get out was another matter. But he still nodded and said, "Thank you, senior. I have been remembered. If I find a robber cultivator, I will go there and tell you." After Lin Changqing finished speaking, the cultivator in the treasure boat did not say anything. He directly increased the altitude quickly and left quickly. In this area, there was not only Lin Changqing alone. Some cultivators from the Zhao family were busy. At this time, Lin Changqing was relieved. To be honest, the Zhao family did not have much hatred with him. The reason he attacked Zhao Zhenbing was because he was looking for death. He wanted to bring Lin Changqing back to the Zhao family and put him under house arrest. He killed him. He couldn't blame him. In addition, because of the innate merit, he didn't want to be a person without bottom line. He didn't want to kill innocent people at will, so this result was the best outcome for him and the Zhao family. Since he had already dealt with the Zhao family's interrogation, they should not come back again. Therefore, after he sorted out his mood, he began to practice the Thunder Sutra. Early the next morning, he recovered the array plate of the breathing array and continued to set off. The rest of the journey was relatively smooth. In 12 or 13 days, he arrived at the outskirts of the Dongling Mountains. There was no big thing on the way, that is, there were 2 groups of robbers, a total of 7 people. He didn't know how to live or die and sent himself up. When he met him, of course he had to leave his life. He also sent him 12 storage bags, but it was estimated that there was nothing good in them, so he was too lazy to open them one by one. Throw them all into the inner space first, and when there is more accumulation in the future, take the time to count and sort them together. He took out the map that Chen Ziya prepared for him again and checked it. He knew that it would take another 3 to 5 days to reach the ruins of the Lingxi mine. So after getting the direction right, he officially entered the mountain. When he got here, he felt different. In just one day, he encountered 3 groups of robbers. There were 11 people in total, and they left him 18 storage bags. It was indeed a land without a master, and there were many robbers. The next 2 or 3 days were similar. When he arrived at the ruins of the Lingxi mine. When he arrived at the nearby Kaidan market, he had 58 storage bags in his hand, and they were still thrown into the inner space. However, within the range of 20 miles of Kaidan market, he did not encounter robbers again. It seems that this should be a conventional safe zone. So Lin Changqing planned to stay in Kaidan market for 2 days to see if he could find any good things here. He honestly used 10 low-grade spirit stones at the entrance of Kaidan market to get an entry and exit certificate. The price was much more expensive than other markets. However, Lin Changqing was rich and didn't care at all. Just after he stepped into the market, a little girl of 11 or 12 years old ran over to stop Lin Changqing and said, "Senior, is this your first time in Kaidan market? Are you going to try your luck in the mines? Would you like to buy the latest mine distribution map? It is the latest distribution map drawn this month. It guarantees that you will not get lost in it. And it also marks which places are more dangerous and should be avoided as much as possible. It is definitely the most suitable for monks like you who have just come here." Lin Changqing was moved when he heard it. He really needed such a thing to help him quickly understand the mine site. So he looked at the little girl in front of him with big eyes and looked quite clever, and said, "Little guy, how did you judge that this was my first time here? And how much is your mine distribution map?" The little girl said proudly, "That's not difficult, because I saw you apply for an entry and exit certificate at the entrance of the market, so I judged that this was your first time here. As for the mine distribution map in my hand, it costs 500 spirit stones to ensure accuracy. How to spend little money and do big things, senior, please get one." When Lin Changqing heard this, he was almost laughed at by her. The little girl was indeed very smart, but others were not stupid either. The cost of this kind of mine distribution map is that of a jade slip, which costs 1 spirit stone. Now he actually wants to sell it to him for 500 spirit stones, which is almost the same as Mingji. Chapter 524, The Great Seal of 10,000 Mountains. So Lin Changqing said unhappily, You little guy is really daring to ask for too much? 500 spirit stones is impossible. You keep it for yourself. Or 20 spirit stones, give me one. If it's higher, I won't take it. I haven't decided whether to mine it or not. The little girl was also depressed. After waiting for a few days, there was someone who was interested in buying it. But at this price, she only earned 2 low-grade spirit stones. Lin Changqing bargained so hard that she felt uncomfortable. But she couldn't not sell it because she could earn spirit stones. So she still gave Lin Changqing a cold look, and then completed the transaction with him in depression. But Lin Changqing felt that this little girl at the 4th level of key refining was quite smart and cute. Seeing that she was so young, she wanted to roll around in the market to earn resources for cultivation. He felt a little pity for her and couldn't help but want to help her, so he said, "This is indeed my first time here, and I'm not familiar with it. How about I hire you to be my guide for a day, and I'll pay you 10 low-grade spirit stones. How do you feel?" When the little girl heard this, she quickly stepped back, looked at him warily and said, "Big bad guy, I don't want to be fooled by you. Keep the 10 low-grade spirit stones for yourself." After that, she ran away. Lin Changqing couldn't help laughing. The little guy was quite smart. It was good that he wouldn't be easily deceived. Since the little guy didn't want to be his guide, he could only stroll around by himself, wandering around the market alone without any purpose. The most eye-catching thing was the small shops that recycled the original spirit stone, or 9 out of 10 shops on the street had or recycling signs. However, there were no large shops, at least the characteristic buildings of one Bayo pavilion were not seen here. There is no colorful prosperity like other market towns. The best business here is the shops selling elixirs, magic tools and spiritual tools. The most unique thing here is that there are many monks who specialize in studying the raw minerals of spiritual stones. So there are really many monks who like to gamble on stones, and there is even a special raw stone trading square. But when Lin Changqing arrived today, it was too late, and most people had dispersed. He could only wait until tomorrow morning to see it again. After spending some time and walking around, he had a bottom line in his heart. He returned to the hotel he just passed by and opened a room with the entry and exit certificate he had just issued. In such a chaotic and disorderly place, Lin Changqing was more vigilant, so he used his spiritual sense and eyes to carefully check the room 2 or 3 times. After confirming that there was no problem, he arranged the second-order breathing array and the second-order defense array, so that he could rest at ease. He didn't want someone to suddenly break in when he was resting, although the possibility of this was still relatively low. After activating both arrays, he went directly into the inner space, and he hadn't come in for more than half a month. The deer hadn't seen him for a long time, and they were very enthusiastic again. Although Lu Xiameng hadn't signed a contract with him yet, she was no longer afraid of Lin Changqing. This time he caught them easily and held them in his arms. After feeding all the deer with Yurlington and Zhugo appropriately, he interacted with them for a while and sent them out to play. The next thing was the most important content of the day. He summoned Su Miniang and Zhao Linyu to the courtyard and told them to move their hands together. Then Lin Changqing took out the 80 or 90 storage bags he had harvested in the recent period. They were piled together, and after the 2 people finished the sacrifice, they could just pour the contents on the ground. He himself began to sacrifice the 2 special storage bags he got from Zhao's Hengbing. Lin Changqing specially marked these 2 because the owner had died, so it took only a while for the 2 storage bags to be sacrificed. He fell to the ground and sorted things out. There were not as many things as he imagined. In terms of spiritual stones, there were only 1,500 medium-grade and nearly 100,000 low-grade spiritual stones. 1 defense and 2 attack, 3 top-grade spiritual tools, and 2 third-level earth-attributed magic weapons. 1 is a golden tortoise shell, and the other is a yellowish-brown flying sword. In terms of elixirs, only 7 or 8 bottles were harvested, but they were all common elixirs in the 3rd level, and Lin Changqing had already recognized them. Next was a lot of miscellaneous items, a mess of everything. He even suspected that this Zhao Zhengbing was the elder of the General Affairs Hall of the Zhao family. But in the end, Lin Changqing still sorted out 4 useful jade slips. The first one was Zhao Zhengbing's practice notes and practice experience. Including his experience and experience of breaking through the Purple Mansion period, this has a relatively important reference role. Lin Changqing decided to focus on reading and understanding it when he had time. The second one was the practice method he practiced, called Thousand Peaks and Flat Mountains. The grade was not too high, it was just a Zhuan-level practice method. Lin Changqing took a rough look and found that the skill was moderate, peaceful and stable, although it did not have any outstanding features. But the skill could be cultivated to the middle stage of the golden elixir. Lin Changqing would make a copy and send it to the family's sutra pavilion in the future. The third jade slip recorded the method of cultivating a magical power, called the Great Handprint of 10,000 Mountains, which should be the handprint he made to Lin Changqing at that time. The handprint that day was an earth-based magical power. No wonder the speed was so slow, but Lin Changqing was also very happy. The Lin family didn't know if they had magical powers. Such a precious thing could fall into his hands, which was considered a burst of luck. This kind of thing should not be allowed to be taken out of the sector family at ordinary times. He was very satisfied to get the method of cultivating this magical power this time. It was estimated that this might be his biggest gain this time. The fourth jade slip recorded some tasks issued by the Zhao family, and also recorded some inventory of Zhao family resources. In these records, he saw 2 purple mansion Tuangsuan pills in stock, 35 foundation building pills in stock, and many other things, which made him a little excited. After sorting them all out, he picked out the useful things and put the remaining useless things into a storage bag. He released Zhao Zhenbing's body again. Because the situation was urgent and time did not allow, when he put the body away, he found something different. Now it seems that Zhao Zhenbing should be wearing something similar to inner armor under his clothes. Lin Changqing took it off. After sensing it, it should be a third-level golden silk soft armor, but there was a big hole in the front of the chest. Chapter 525 Super Underground Maze. Seeing this victory, Lin Changqing was very excited. The third-level defensive inner armor was broken with one blow, proving that the Great Five Elements Giksa technique was indeed very powerful. However, this third-level inner armor was broken into this state, and I don't know if it can be repaired. Lin Changqing can only find a jade box and put it away. When there is a chance in the future, I will ask someone. If it can't be repaired, I will give it to Zhao Mingxia and let her do whatever she wants. After a careful inspection again, Zhao Zhenbing's body did not find anything else. However, he found that Zhao Zhenbing's body was only an empty shell. Most of the internal organs and blood inside were gone, which should have been annihilated by the Great Five Elements Giksa technique. This result made Lin Changqing very frightened. If the magical power is more powerful in the future, will the people who were hit be annihilated without a trace? Then will the spoils on them be gone? It seems that they should be used with caution in the future, so as not to end up with nothing left. Then he released the body of the female cultivator from the Zhao family. After checking that nothing was left out, Lin Changqing received all of them and put them in the storage bag where he had put the sundries just now, ready to deal with them together later. Next, he began to help to sacrifice and refine the storage bags of the robbers. It took the 3 of them a long time to finally sort out all the things. This time, a lot of spiritual stones, elixirs, spiritual tools, and other messy things were harvested again, but Lin Changqing didn't pay any attention to them. The only special thing was the raw ore that was put together and piled up. There were quite a lot of them, about 300 or 400 pieces, but only 2 of them emitted a relatively dim aura. And they were not big, so Lin Changqing was too lazy to pick them out specifically, and asked Su Miniang and Zhao Liayu to pick a few pieces each to play with. He packed the rest in 2 large storage bags, and then went to the deep pit and poured them directly into it. Including the storage bag for sundries, the things in it were poured in together. Anyway, it was right to leave these things to Lin Changliu. He also selected some elixirs that Su Miniang and Zhao Liayu could use and gave them to the 2 of them. They were very conscious and put away the things on the ground in different categories. After asking them to send all the things to the storage room, he added some spiritual fruits and green jade tea, and then left the inner space. Back in the hotel room, he still had one thing to do, that is, he wanted to see the distribution map of the mine cave he had just bought. After making himself a pot of green jade tea, he carefully checked it. If you don't look at it, you don't know. After looking at the distribution map, you will know how huge this Kaiden spiritual mine is. It should be a super large mineral vein. No wonder the name is Kaiden. This map, with shiny Uanfang City as the coordinates, is about 50 miles south, which is the Kaiden mineral vein site. The site covers an area that is simply unimaginable, and the mine caves inside are intricate, and even multiple layers of mine caves are connected, like a super huge underground maze. Lin Changqing looked at it for an hour, and his head was big, and he only remembered about 1/10 of the content. There are more than 20 forces of different sizes occupying certain areas, which have been shown in different colors on the distribution map. There is also a rough introduction to the situation of these forces. They are all groups mainly composed of foundation building monks. There are as few as 20 to 30 people, and as many as nearly 100 people. To enter the area they occupy to mine, you must pay them a certain amount of spiritual stones before you can enter. And when you leave, your storage bag will be checked. They also have the right to buy the raw stones they like at a normal price first. And even so, there are monks who go into mine or try their luck every day and die in it. Therefore, the Jade Slip also warns that it is best not to go down to the mine. If you must go down, it is better to go with a few people, which will be slightly safer. Seeing this, Lin Changqing has a rough idea in his mind. Now he wants to enter the mine earlier. So he decided not to go to the raw stone trading square tomorrow. He can wait until later to see that place when he has time. Tomorrow morning, he will go directly to the mine. It's a pity that the 5 earth armor beasts were not brought with him. Otherwise, it would be much more convenient to let them come to search for ores and mine. After making the decision, he didn't even look at the mine distribution map. Anyway, strength is the most important thing when he gets there, so he directly practiced a Thunder Sutra. The next morning, Lin Changqing checked out of the hotel and flew straight to the ruins after leaving the market. No one jumped out to die in the dozens of miles, so he quickly arrived at the Kailun mine site. However, this part was the latest mine area and the cleanest plundered, so he didn't stop, but continued to fly to the back half of the mine. After more than an hour, he finally arrived at the place where Lin Changqing wanted. This was also the location of the mine distribution that he remembered yesterday. After detecting with his spiritual sense and confirming that there was no ambush at the mine entrance, Lin Changqing went down to the mine without any hesitation. When he arrived here, his spiritual sense was fully open, and he first walked down along the main mine hole. After about half an hour, he began to encounter sporadic monks one after another. However, everyone was very alert and kept a safe distance from each other. Lin Changqing had no intention of attacking these people, so they all tried to pass as quickly as possible. Finally, after another half an hour, it felt that they should be at the edge of the mine site. He found a relatively small mine tunnel and turned in, but not long after entering, he met 7 or 8 mid to late foundation building monks in a relatively narrow place. As soon as they saw Lin Changqing, one of them said, "If you want to go in and mine, pay 500 low-grade spirit stones, and you can dig for 10 days. But when you leave, let us see the harvest, and we will give priority to buying the raw stones you like at the normal market price. If you have no problem, you can pay the spirit stones now." After that, several people looked him up and down. Lin Changqing was not afraid of them, but these people dared to plunder spirit stones from him, so he would not be polite to them when he left. But now is not the time to turn against each other. He still wants to go in and see the situation inside the mine. So now is not the time to argue with him. So he nodded and went up to pay 500 spirit stones. He got a small jade plate with a time when Lin Changqing entered the mine recorded on it. He also bought a pickaxe with 50 spirit stones. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.